that a thing? Is that... Nah, I think you guys are just making stuff up. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's Friday! T-G-I freaking F. It's Friday.
T-G-I-F-F.
T-G-I-F-F-F-F. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Friday. It is time to get the weekend kicked off. Oh, and I'm already tired. So we'll see. We'll see how long we hang on to Jen. Jen's back's killing her. So she may not be here for long. And but we are going to spend some time tonight throwing paint at our Whisper Mech. I think I got it right. Sokar? I think that's right. Sokar. We have Brandon, who is the guy that rules the roost with the Whisper ideas, in Discord with us tonight. So he'll be doing some talking with us for a little bit, answer some questions from you guys, and I'm sure I've got some questions that I want to ask. I want to figure out, like, what exactly are these for? Like, is there a game? Is there a rule set? what all is behind the magic of these, because I really like the mechs. And he's got some really great models. Exclamation point Whisper in chat, of course, will get you to the link for the current Kickstarter, the Phase 2 Kickstarter, that ends on Tuesday or Wednesday? I think maybe Wednesday? I don't remember. It ends this next week. So make sure you jump on that. Go take a look at it. The current mechs like this are available at Impact Miniatures, so just impactminiatures.com. We shared a space next to them at Adepticon. Great guys, great miniatures. Really cool and good resins. And amazing detail on them. So we're going to throw some paint on this guy today. We will get going. Let's get...
we were next to them at Adepticon?
Impact Miniatures, yeah. The guys with all the chibis.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, they sell these mechs, or these miniatures, for the Whisper guys. So they're like the distributor, or maybe I think they make them too. I don't know we can ask him.
Okay.
We can ask him. But hey, gang, what is happening? Is this still working? I feel like that's still working. All right, cool.
I was going to say, I'm not seeing anything in chat.
No, I'm not seeing anything either. We'll wait till Kenny gets done. People start trickling in here. We're going to go ahead and get going. Let's see if we can't jump in and grab Brandon on Discord. Hey, are you there, Brandon?
I am indeed, sir.
Fantastic.
I am indeed.
Fantastic. What's happening? You will have to get used to us, Jen and I, as we talk to chat, as we talk to you at the same time. So it may get a little confusing as we go and do things like, hey, Drac, what's happening? As we have people popping into chat and saying hello. So we'll be rambling constantly. But welcome. How you doing? Hopefully, all of this will be some good fun.
All right, gentlemen and lady, I see.
Yes, that is Jen.
Hello.
She's the best part of Slow Fuse Gaming, if you ask chat, at least. They could all live or die without me, but if Jen's gone, they all get out of control. So she controls the room.
In that case, oh, okay. Well, I am paying attention to the chat here. I see Deathar and also Gentastic, obviously.
Yeah.
Udrax79.
There we go. See, now he can welcome everybody.
Oh, cool.
With you and him here, I don't even need to work. Do we have to pay you, Brandon? I feel like this could be a thing. Like he's going to be nice to everybody in chat, and then he's going to ask for a paycheck.
Gentlemen and lady, you are offering me a great shout out to my creation with this, so I should really thank you all very much for it. So don't worry about paying me. If anybody is interested in going to the Kickstarter and backing it, then they are absolutely 100% invited.
Now you're already funded on this phase 2, right?
Yes, we are. We are indeed funded on this second Kickstarter. The first Kickstarter, Impact and Marchand Atelier assisted me greatly in my first one. I had some great friends who have also worked for the likes of DreamPod 9. Who else? Chibi Kickstarters. They've all kind of assisted me on this work.
Well, that's a great team to have. So that always helps.
It has been an amazing team. All of my friends, all of my my acquaintances have been just enormously supportive. They love the vision that I'm going with. You mentioned, and if you don't mind me saying, you mentioned when you looked at the SOCAR, you were talking about, does it look like it could be an infinity? The answer is yes. I did actually intentionally do that, because I knew that I am an Infinity fan myself. I own a couple of the models, preferably Pan-Oceania.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm a blue boy. So when I saw the tags, the tactical armor gears, of course, I come from heavy gear with DreamPod 9.
Yep.
So I said, that looks like a smaller version of a gear. And I was like, I see what you did there. I see what you did, Infinity. And I loved it. So I was like, just for the sake of craziness, when I first started out with the scale, I was wiffle waffling. And then I settled on, you know what, I'll go with 10 millimeter scale, but I'll make it 43 millimeters tall. And that way they can play it as a light tag stand-in if they want to.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's almost perfect for that, because it's not so big and bulky. We showed like one of the Cav type, BattleTech style mechs that we're all used to, big and bulky, more like, pickup truck vehicles with weapons. And I really liked the lithe shape to it, the fact that it looked like it could just be a person wearing a suit. So I'm a fan of that. As a matter of fact, it's funny you mentioned, the Pano, because that's what we showed it next to, is just for scaling some of the Pano that we've been working on. And, it could be a light tag or a heavy infantry or, just a very big nomad dude jacked up on whatever, they're feeding those kids these days. I dig it. I think it's great. I think it gives you a lot of flexibility, but it leads to another question, and we'll just jump in. I'm going to tell Chad again. We've got Brandon from Whisper with us, so all the floor is open as people filter in, as Kenny and Next Level Painting get done over there and host over. We'll continue talking about this, but we're painting up the Whisper SOCAR. It is a mech. In its design. As a matter of fact, I learned today as I was browsing around that the pilot sits back here in the backpack, or whatever we call that. I'm sure there's a technical name. But this is like the cockpit area, and a pilot sits back there. And, the scale is probably, a pilot is, I would say, probably about 3/16 to a quarter of an inch tall at the 10 millimeter scale. And so you've got a little dude that rides in the back, controls this thing. But I just love the whole concept of it. I'm a big robot mecha fan, so anything grabs me. But I just like the fact that this had, just in the dynamics, the twist of the torso, the positioning of the legs, it has a much more fluid, bipedal, actual human movement, as if this were more, I mentioned, more Neon Genesis than Gundam. And I feel like is kind of a good way to say the look of this goes. So
I want to give a caveat on this. I am actually not a fan of Evangelion. I am not. I admit it fully. If any anime fans are watching, please forgive me. Don't hate me too much.
Heresy, he says.
Evangelion. I know it's heresy and mecha fandom to not like Neon Genesis Evangelion, but it was just one of those series where I was just like, it's too end of the world for me. I'm like, I preferred
very bleak.
God, what was the name of it?
Very
bleak. And that was one of the things that just made me go, I always got to have a little bit of hope. And this is why when I first started on Whisper, my friend John Sung, who is on DeviantArt, actually, since I'm on I will get his DeviantArt and I'll copy the link into the actual here we go. So all of this, I'm going to take his link and I'm going to send it out in the chat for those people who are curious.
There you go.
H. Hello, he has actually gone into the Army. He is now an aviations specialist with the Army. And being a former tanker in the Army myself, I give a big shout out to him. He was kind enough back in 2013 to give me permission for a role-playing game. When that happened, I started on the role-playing rules, but I'm not going to lie, the role-playing rules kind of fizzled after a while, and then I decided, I'm just going to put it on the back burner. Fast forward a couple of years, my friend Glenn McClune, who has worked on a couple of Kickstarters of his own for Chibi Kickstarters, said, dude, these are awesome. Why don't you just make a miniatures war game? And I said, I don't know anybody. And I was like, I know DreamPod 9, I know the guys there. And he said, I know people. So he pointed me in the direction of Marchand Atelier. Marchand was kind enough to take the 3D models. And then Glenn said, we also know Impact Miniatures. And I said, I don't know them. And he said, here's his address, send him the stuff and let us know how you think. And I got in touch with Mr. Anders, Tom, who I believe you were next to at Gen Con 50. That was the first Gen Con I ever had been to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was my first Gen Con. That was the most amazing experience for me as a gamer and as a fan of the games to walk around and see everything.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
It was just mind blowing. But yeah, from there, it just kind of, by that time, the first Kickstarter had succeeded. We didn't have the production models finished yet, but we were celebrating anyway. And I was very pleased, and I was blown away the first time with all the support that I received from everyone. I mean, it was just 100 people came together and said, you know what, we love what you're doing. And I have now not too small. It's like 400 members on Facebook who follow and keep up. In the meantime, while I do that, I work on the rules. I try and get everything hammered out. It's not as easy as it looks, but at the same time, it's been a humbling and just exhilarating experience all the same.
Very cool. Well, congratulations on that. I know that the community, as I've joined it over there, is pretty active for being when people browse around and look at numbers, you might walk into a community on Facebook, it's like 400 people, you're like, oh yeah, okay, yawn. But it's a really active group, and I'm really, really pleased to say that, for everybody out there in chat, if you like mecha at all, whether it's Battletech or anything influenced in that realm, go check out type Whisper in the search bar on Facebook, or if Brandon puts up the link for his Facebook group in here. The really cool thing is that it's a group of people that all just have a love for mecha. It's not necessarily just one thing. I see people throwing up designs and they're painting their Whispers. They've got their Whispers next to Infinity models. They've got Whispers and Cav models together. People are excited just of the prospect of it, and so I think that's always a really good kind of grassroots feeling as you're starting into something new. So, and there it is, Kenny and Next Level Painting coming in the door. Thank you, Kenny. Welcome, everybody. This is our in our stream group. This is the slot right before us now filtering in. So now we've got the full bunch. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If anybody's new here, I'm Jason. That's Jen. You should know us. We're Slow Fuse Gaming. It is Friday, TGIF, and we are here with Brandon from Whisper. We are painting one of the Whisper Mechs tonight. So it is. Let me zoom in a little bit on this since we've just got black primer on. A little hard to pick out the details. But this is a Whisper Mech. It's a 10mm miniature. And, hard armor mecha, even though it looks like a guy in a suit. We were just talking about that. It's got a very fluid motion to it, but in concept, it's got a pilot that sits in this back compartment that pilots this thing, and it's like in-scale railroad, so it's like quarter-inch tall dudes and dudettes. Uptown Toast, thank you so much for the follow. So it's a fantastic piece. I got some of the others here real quick before I get into painting. What I'll do is I'll show you guys all this. Welcome everybody. Get off to our Friday, and then I'm going to start painting, and we're going to let Brandon tell us a little bit more about the whole Whisper concept and where this game may be going in the future. But the mechs themselves, distributed right now through Impact Miniatures, are fantastic resin minis. It's a nice hard resin, so it's not that restic. Miso Corny. It's the best name on the internet today, by the way, Miso.
We also had
so thank you so
Dream
much for
the
that
Stream
follow.
followed. Thank you for that.
But a nice hard resin, so it's easy to clean up, easy to scrape. Any of the flash that's on there is very, very easy to just simply clip off. The details are nice. I didn't get plagued with a whole lot of mold shift or mold lines on it. Everything that I did was just kind of like the standard mold line across the leg. It was easy to scrape with a knife. I have the full set of Whispers that we got at Adepticon from Tom and Impact. Thank you so much. 7 freaking months. Thank you for the continued support. There's weapon kits that include variations on the arm and the weapons that are held. I've built this SOCAR with what I believe, and Brandon can correct me, but I believe this is like a rocket launcher or a missile launcher that I've got on here. I thought it was a big shotgun because it has a small snub nose, but I think it's a missile launcher.
Hey, somebody likes us.
It is actually a missile launcher, that in particular one. Oh, you have all the extra arm sets.
I got I think I have everything. I have 3 Whispers. I've got one that has like a jetpack that is like got flying wings and Wolverine claws, which is really bitchin'. And then I have like the weapon swap set and head swaps. It's got so many cool bits that I feel like you could really get in and down into. There's even an arm that is like half chopped off for battle damage already. I nerd out about stuff like this. Because when I first clipped this off, I have to admit, because we don't get this kind of thing in miniatures very often, I first clipped this and got the sprue bits off, and I was like, oh, this is a deformed piece. But then I started looking at it, I was like, no, that's sculpted battle damage. That's like the arm and all the sinews coming out of it, and the cabling is all just there for, the story that it tells that, hey, I'm missing half my arm. And I don't know. I thought that was really cool. I didn't put it on because I was more impressed with painting the OSL for the blade. So for painting, we're going to do the blade. But really great pieces. Everything, and even the small bits, I mean, fingers and everything, the resin molding is really great, as you'd expect from Impact. Impact are the same people that are doing the Pit Lord chibi that we started painting earlier this week. So we got some base coats on him, not a lot of detailing done, but great stuff. Thank you guys so much for all the continued support. Sev7.
And Drago. Thank you.
Votom guy, fantastic.
Votom guy, I'm guessing, is Jason Frazier. He's one of the guys that I've known since the Heavy Gear days when I was still trying to make a name for myself with those boys. He's an enthusiastic supporter, and he's
nice.
a great friend. He's
well,
also
good. Welcome,
given me
everybody.
some great stuff. That
Never
rainbow
forget,
work that you
there's
did
no
on that
muscle
chibi,
stronger
I
than the
cannot say
human
enough.
heart.
That was
What about the
awesome
wiener?
work.
A guy in GB lifted a
Yeah,
can
this
of
is one of the
paint with
reasons
his.
why I'm so glad I got with
Yes.
Impact. Impact's work has been just, especially with the recent change in their mixes, it's just been phenomenal.
Their
There's
resins are
just so
great.
much-
Like, I would not have, like,
Yeah.
when I saw this stuff initially, I was like, okay, great. You know, the chibis are great. They had some really neat stuff. I saw Chibi Pit Lord, and I was like, oh, smitten. I'll take it. I need to paint that guy live on stream. And then he was like, okay, and he started, you know, these are resins and da-da-da. And I was like, ooh, that whip is resin. And then he gave it to me, and I'm like, oh, wow. This is not Forge World resin. This is amazing material. Like, I would never want this sculpted this way with this little skinny knuckle where it connects in a whip to be resin. If I ordered this from Forge World, I'd have to, I would just have to redo it as something else because the resin would crack and break and I'd never be able to do anything with it.
When did you paint this? I've never seen it.
We threw color on
Earlier
this
this
guy
week.
on Wednesday and
Oh,
Tuesday.
okay.
Yeah, we just started throwing the base coats of the rainbow on there. It's not going to look like this. I call him the Rainbow Demon right now. It's not going to look like this at all. This is just the beginnings of a different paint job that I'm doing. So I'm going to surprise everybody with where we're going to go with it. Let me do this. Welcome everybody again. We were talking to Brandon. You'll hear the voice, the ominous voice in the background. That's Brandon from Whisper. It's the developer of the miniature that we are painting tonight. We're going to let him talk a little bit about the game vision that he has for these mechs, what drove him into this. He's already given us kind of a start off there. And then chat, feel free to ask any questions that you've got. Jen will help monitor chat a lot. I'll be painting. Brandon will be talking. We'll all be asking questions. So it might get a little confusing in here tonight. If we miss any of the follows or subs or resubs, please understand when we have a guest, we'll get to all of them. We appreciate it. But don't feel like we're forgetting you. Make sure to type at Slowfuse Gaming or at Gentastic8 in chat so that you get Jen and I's attention as you need to ask us questions. Chat will help us and make sure that we don't miss any of the questions that come up. But please don't feel like if we miss your question that we're ignoring you. Just feel free to type it again and again and again. Just kick me in the shins. We'll get it. Greenleaf, what's happening? I'm not that. I am. Okay. Shit guy, what's going on? Comrade, welcome back.
Marty Mar wants to know what the scale is.
Marty Mar, this is 10 millimeter scale, believe it or not. It's very similar along the lines of the Cav or the Battletech or any of the standard like mecha games that are out there right now. In comparison to Infinity, the 28 millimeter scale that we deal with most often around here. We were just discussing the fact that the Whispers could be something like a heavy infantry or a light tag for Infinity in their scale, and actually because of the way that they are designed, they would fit really well in that realm. So I'm not shy about it, and Brandon has always said that has already said that he owns some Infinity, and that was definitely something that was on his mind as he was going through the process.
Somebody likes us.
System 13. I got the
was
Roman
indeed.
numeral right
That
without
was
even really
quick.
having to think about it.
I was still thinking about it when you said it.
I'm pretty quick like that. John Patrick, what is going on? Welcome back, everybody. Voodoo Child, use Drunken Brush Group on your paintbrushes and save 15% on your insurance. I feel like we need to use that in a commercial someplace. Video Caesar, what's happening? Orc Pride, welcome back. Marty Mar, we answered that one. Video Caesar, bringing back heavy gear. I wish. The heavy gear miniatures were actually really cool. Some of those gears were really cool.
There is still a plastic. There was a Kickstarter that just started for the, I believe it was Peace River Forces that they started recently on Kickstarter. I think it's already concluded.
Oh, wow.
Plastic is now what DreamPod 9 has been trying to get some plastic, and I'm giving a shout out to them because they were my first love outside
Perfect.
of Gundam.
Perfect.
But yeah. Alongside Cav, DreamPod 9's still chugging along. They still have a fair community. Also, I started a Terra Nova DMZ about 4 years ago. It's stayed steady, stayed strong. Great group, great community, bunch of mecha fans. I kind of cross-seed a little bit between Whisper and Terra Nova. I have no issues with, like you said, Cav or anything else being used in Whisper. So for me, it's just like, if you're a mecha fan, if you're a fan of big robots, big guns, big explosions, just come on over. I'm not picky. I truly am not. I feel that we all have a love for great storylines, great battles. It also provides a little bit of an outlet for me personally, considering my past, but I won't get into that here. That's a little too heavy for y'all. Let's
Well, I
focus
feel
on
like,
it.
I mean, you've already mentioned you were a tanker. I feel like there's got to be some of that there, and anything that you can deal with from your regular life and bring it into your play and work in a good sense, I think is worth its weight in gold. So I have no problem with that at all. I think that's awesome.
Cool.
I'm going to get started on this
guy.
guy. Let me start talking about base coats, and then we'll get back to our discussion here. I am going to be painting this guy in kind of a yellow, white, and metallics, non-metallic steel colors. So, but the way that we're going to go about it is to go through all of the workup from gray to white, pre-highlighting, and doing all of our metallics and things with the airbrush, getting all that set, and then glazing color back over our pre-highlight and using that as the way to really get some vivid, nice yellows over this black base. So I am going to start doing that. I would like to know
any mahogany?
What's that? Do we have mahogany?
Will you be using any mahogany?
I don't think we'll be using mahogany, but there's always room for mahogany. Oh yeah, we probably would find some way to put some unit markings in red on this, and of course, if we're painting
mahogany.
red, I feel like red has to start with mahogany.
Mahogany. Okay.
So Brandon, we have a thing around here. Mahogany as a color is one of my favorite colors to paint with, and Chat has to drink an adult beverage every time we say it. So we try not to be too mean and just scream mahogany all the time. But if they ask us, we have to.
Since I have to go to work at midnight, I think I might have to pass on that one.
Well, we don't. I'm drinking water, so
That's a lot.
Okay.
Cheers. We're drinking H2O, so we're
Stay
all right.
hydrated. We are desert dwellers.
Oh no, I'm actually from Indiana, so I'm in a fair place of temperate climate, but I have an energy drink on hand, so I'm going to drink that right now for your mahogany.
He's got to do the late night shift, so he doesn't want to walk in like stumbling in the door. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be starting with some very dark grays. I'll just lay the colors out here initially, and then we can continue to talk. I'm going to go through what is a very standard workup for me from Model Air Black Gray as a base. And then we're going to work up through gray, regular gray, and then I will probably jump up to, actually, you know what, we'll probably dump regular gray and just jump to neutral gray from that, and then light gray, or pale ghost gray maybe, the dark ghost gray it is. So I'll be using these three through the airbrush first. I'll be focused a lot on just finding my highlight areas and working in some tightness for the metallic style areas. The goal is I'm going to basically pretend like I'm painting this guy black and white first. And we'll build up a lot of the value and volume on the model with grays up to white. We'll probably go all the way to white. And then we'll put all of our other colors over it. So you'll find me spending a lot of time during the course of today, detailing this pre-highlight as opposed to kind of the quick way that we do it, where we just feather either white or a very light gray over a model to get the sense of lighting on it so that we can then cover it up with opaque paints. We're going to use the pre-highlight layer that I'm going to be showing you tonight as a value indicator through our paints. We'll be painting so thin with all of our other colors like our yellows, that the blacks and grays and whites that I use here at the beginning will be playing a lot along with that and giving us the shadow and the midtones and the highlights through our other colors. So I'm going to start doing that. Brandon, I would like to know, what's the scope of this game? And I'm just going to hand the reins to you.
Really quick, too, before that, Brandon is in chat as well, so you can also type his name in there with your questions, and then he'll see him, too.
Yep, there it is.
Brandon Keith F. in chat.
Yes,
perfect.
That is. Thank you, Jen. Thank you for mentioning that. And I hope if you have any questions or anything, feel free to interject. I know I'm kind of talking over you, and you're kind of our moderator while he does the painting.
She'll just kick you in the shins. She's good at it.
That's okay. That's all right. My shins can take it. The scope of the game. Depends on your definition. Are you talking about the universe itself, or are you talking about
first off, does the game exist as it stands right now with the Wave 1 miniatures, or is it still a work in progress? Is it in alpha rules?
Progress.
Okay.
It is alpha rules.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
But people could get these rules and actually right now go to Impact Miniatures, buy the quad set of Whispers. I think they've got, you can choose between the various suits. I think right now for under $50 you get 4 of these. They could actually get this, though, maybe pair it up with some Cav models and start utilizing your rules to have some mecha combat on the table, right?
Yes, you could.
Okay.
The big thing is I have an alpha revision coming up 1.5 that should be released within the next month. Once I release that revision, it should be a little bit more clear. And also, I'm basically making it so that you can use just about any models you got. Like if you were a 15 millimeter fan, or if you're a 10mm fan. Drop Zone Commander is one that I've heard quite often. If you got some spare micro machines around, you can use those as stand-ins for tanks, infantry, other generic units, and bring them in for heavy power armor, infantry, light power armor, all of which have a place in the actual universe. The scope of the game is only about, basically the core is the four, what you see right there, which is what I call a tier 3 unit, and it is a tier 3 Whisper, so it's 3rd generation. The 3rd generation Whispers have been around now for less than 5 years. The 1st and 2nd generation Whispers have been there for about 25 years. They're not very long in the scene. But the idea is, these are the special forces. These are Navy SEALs / Army Special Forces. These are guys that were trained how to fight by themselves as the ultimate weapon. And because they get a little older, their bodies start to wear out. Now they're being given these massive 8.5, 9-meter tall war machines that stand, at that high and weigh about 55 tons, the same as a tank. And you put them in there and you hook them up with basically a neural net and a limited artificial intelligence, similar in some respects to Cortana from Master Chief. And now you're basically being told, okay, you've got to make a drop from the Oort cloud onto a planet and wipe something out. And that is the basis for it. The base core unit is 4 of those units right there, the SOCARs or the Raptors, if you like. And then anywhere from 8 to 12 support units. And the support units can range anywhere from militia, they can be infantry, they can be tanks. And I also have a couple of tanks that I recently created with Marchand Atelier, and they're on the Kickstarter right now. Even if this Kickstarter doesn't fund those particular units, those units are coming. There is no such thing as a Kickstarter exclusive when it comes to me. What I sell to you on Kickstarter is I am just asking for the molds. Once I get the molds, I'm going to sell them. I'm not locking this into a mindset of go. You must get this. No, you will always see every single unit as it is in the store for yourself to buy, even if you can't participate. Just sharing it around and offering even $1 is much obliged.
That's awesome.
That's the honest truth.
That's awesome. This would be a good time to interject for everybody that just showed up, coming from Kenny's stream, or if you're just tuning in with us tonight on Friday. First off, welcome. We are talking to Brandon from Whisper, who is the originator of the mech that I have in my hand that I'm painting. And if you type !Whisper, you see it up there at the top of the screen. Type that into chat. It will give you a link to their current 2nd edition. Is it edition? Phase 2, 2nd go. It's the 2nd round of mechs that are coming out for Whisper. And they're already funded, and what they're doing right now is trying to hit some of those target goals. I'd like to see some of those target goals hit because I really want the Kraken arm Poseidon.
Yeah, I understand. Everybody has a favorite, and that's what I'm making. Ray Silver, I missed the first part of the episode. Is this going to be a dice-based system? If so, what die? Very good question. My particular, like I said, I borrowed off of Infinity, but I decided to go with an individual dice. So I went with a 12-sided dice, but with revision 1.5, I'm deciding that I'm also going to include D10s. The idea is this. If you say, okay, say I have a line of sight to an enemy target.
Okay.
I want to take a fire. I want to shoot at that target. Okay, I have certain, say I have what this one has right here, a 4d12. So I have 4 12-sided dice because I have a missile launcher with a little bit of a boost because it's a guided weapon. Now the opponent can then decide whether they want to dodge or whether they want to actually react fire. Now, in dodging, they are given a set number of dice depending upon whether they're infantry, depending on whether they're a tank, depending on whether they're a Whisper of a certain generation. They roll that dodge dice, and they move 4 inches in any direction to avoid the shot.
Okay.
Now, of course, the shot is still going to be going out at them, but those dodge dice will take away from any successes if they succeed. And then you go to the D10s, which are the armor. So then the armor is thrown out, And the armor is deliberately a D10 because in my mindset as a military man, no armor that you create can ever be as good as the armament that is being used to break.
Okay.
So
never 100% effective, basically.
Never 100% effective. If you don't roll high enough, then the odds are it's going to hit you and it's going to hurt. So that's the idea between those dice. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Ray. That's very humbling.
Now, when you say like reactive fire and dodge, is this a system that you could say mimics the Infinity as it's not I'm watching my opponent do all of my opponent's things and then I'm going to do my things, and while my opponent sits around and twiddles his fingers, am I being active at that point where I can, tactically set my miniatures up to where I want you to shoot this guy because I know that in your reaction I have a good chance to hit you before you hit me, kind of a thing?
And that is one of the things that I had to take into account. It is what it does is JP Gray 87. Is it a robot? Depends on your definition of a robot.
Okay, so let me tell you something. I don't know if I should tell him about you, JP, or if I should just let him answer any robot questions that JP throws out there. JP has a robot fetish, so he's going to be your biggest fan by the end of this. I probably guess, Ben.
Oh, okay. Well, JP, is it a robot? Yes. If you count myomer muscle fibers plus a special design for basically the capability of traveling at light speed, beyond light speed, and the ability to hit a target that is basically the size of a planet in the solar system from several astronomical units away. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Basically saying that when you consider the size of a solar system, we count the Earth to the Sun as one astronomical unit.
Right.
From several some say 5 AUs away, this Whisper can land on that planet, go into its atmosphere, get into atmosphere, and engage a target. That's their design. They are rapid reaction forces that will wipe out anything. So they are piloted. They do have a limited artificial intelligence.
Let me interrupt you real quick. Miso Corny, thank you so much for that donation. Much appreciated. We need to. I need to keep track of this because one thing that I have not mentioned today is that we have our May Days giveaway celebration happening as we speak. And that, if you type !Maydays, as you see down at the bottom of the screen, it'll link you over to slowfusegaming.com. That is our personal website where we run the online store where you can buy all of our brushes and our soaps and all the things that we manufacture over there. Thank you guys so much for the support as the store grows. But also during the month of May, we are in the last leg. We've got one more week that ends this next Wednesday, which is my birthday. I turned 48 on Wednesday, and in celebration, I'm giving away lots of stuff to you guys, which may be completely back where asswords, but that's the way we're doing it here. All right. So on Wednesday the 30th, we are going to be drawing. Right now, we're up to 11, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 10 or 11. I'll have to do the math, but we're up to 10 or 11 giveaways. Each winner that we draw at the end of the show on Wednesday will get to pick their own brush set. They will get to build their own brush set out of 5 or 6 of their choice of brushes from Slow Fuse Gaming, as well as a sample of Jen's brush soap. You also are going to get some resin bases from Elric's Hobbies. Elric stepped up and sweetened the pot, as well as a $10 gift certificate to SoCal Games and Comics. Their online store is up and running where you can buy Games Workshop stuff, as well as Magic cards and Pokemon and all that kind of thing, too. But those guys have stepped up to sweeten the pot on both ends of that one. Ray Silver making it there, and Ray Silver jumping the gun and showing, okay, well, how about this then? Every $25 that gets donated, we add another winner. So that was another +1 because of Miso Corny and Ray Silver. So thank you. Let's get some hype in chat for those guys. Yeah, every $25 that gets donated before the end of the stream next Wednesday, we'll add another draw to the giveaway. Every time we hit another milestone, we hit 1,000 followers on our Facebook page, so that gave us a +1. We hit 800 on our Instagram, that gave us a +1. So right now, yeah, we're up to 12 giveaways right now. So every time you guys go over to that site, in order to enter, all you have to do is follow us on the social media avenues that are there. There's 5 different places to follow, including Twitch. If you're already following on all of us, just click follow on them. It'll register you and see that you're already following you and give you the entries into the contest. There's a total of 10 entries that you can get for following us on all 5 of those social media places. and that'll up your chances. Outside of that, it's even playing field. If everybody follows us at all 5 places, everybody's got an even chance to win at this thing. And then it's just the more of our targets that we hit, the more winners we pull. If we pull 100 winners, we pull 100 winners. So we're super excited about it. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. But again, exclamation point Maydays, hit it, go follow us, do the things, get the entries, and we'll see you at the end of the show next Wednesday where we're going to give away a lot of cool stuff. So there. That was a lot of words without taking a breath.
Good job.
Nicely done. Nicely done. I'm impressed.
It's almost like I do this every now and then. All right. So I'm going to get back to painting. You guys keep talking.
Oh, feel free. Jen, I'm not at the computer right now. Can you give me an idea what anybody has any? Oh, wait. What was the question that you were asking, Slow?
What's that?
You were talking earlier before I interrupted my train of thought by JP's question of is it a robot?
Oh, the thing for me was like on the reactionary phase. Is it, you know, how do you envision in your game, I guess, the player turn going? I think when I start thinking in terms of game dynamics, I tend to start with, okay, what's the pacing of the game? You know, I get initiative. It could be as simple as we lay out the map, we place terrain, we place our armies. But once a player turn starts, kind of describe for us the life of a player turn, you know, as player A and B go through this. Because I think as it sounds, I'm intrigued because one of the things I love about Infinity is that I'm never bored playing. You know, I always have to be paying attention to every single thing my opponent is doing on their turn because I get a chance to interrupt it with my actions on their turn. I get to, you know, do things through the whole game. So
that is part of what I tried to, I guess you could say, steal from Infinity. Yes.
It's not a bad thing to steal. If you're going to steal a rule, I feel like those are some of the best ones to do it with.
It is, you do steal it, so to speak, but basically the way it goes is this. You can activate up to 2 units at a time from your core units. So your core whispers, like you're handling right there, and I love the shading you're doing right now. It's very, okay. You activate 2 units. Those 2 units are the ones that are active at that time. Now they move out, and they get to act first, meaning they get to engage first, but the opponent can decide to react fire with ground units, support units, tanks and whatnot, or its own whispers that are engaged. But the problem is that if you spend an order, say, to react fire a support unit like a tank, then you've spent its order permanently for the rest of the turn.
All right.
Yes, the tanks and infantry always go last because I always wanted to put it into the perspective of the Whispers are special forces. They can react fire or dodge as many times as they wish, up to 3 times. I had to give it a bit of a limitation because it was just there's too much of a chance that somebody could literally just move their miniature like with three dodge maneuvers. You can move.
I was going to say you could be across the board pretty quick. This could be used as tactical movement.
It is, and that was intentional to the game, was that I did not want this game to be static. I did not want, I set up my army on this line, you set your army up on this line, we collide in the middle, and okay, roll a bunch of dice and see who wins. No, I wanted this to be so fluid that people were actually thinking ahead and at the same time reacting to whatever line of sight they had. So they'd see a target and suddenly they're like, okay, I can take this. Well, yeah, so say you've got 2 Sokars faced up one direction, okay, so they're facing right, but now a Raptor, which has 13 inches of movement, activates and it comes around behind them. And it actually has missiles in its chest that can target up to 2 targets. So it can swing all the way around the building and then it's got a flank shot on both the Sokars. So it's really a game that will be very fast-paced and very fluid. You have to be willing to think outside the box sometimes and recognize that there are threats from any angle, which is another reason why I include vertical movement. These machines can boost to the top of skyscrapers. It doesn't matter how tall. You want to put drop zone commander buildings in. You want to put in, your own homemade stuff. Feel free. I'm not picky about it, and just have a go at it and see how fast you go. Just remember, it's line of sight. So if you jump your Whisper on top of a building, yeah, you've got a great line of sight to the enemy, but so do they to you. So it's a give and take that I wanted to make. I wanted to make this very, very, how do I say this?
Some risk
Dynamic.
reward there. You've got to understand
Exactly.
the price you're paying right now to get the return you're getting right now versus what might happen, if your opponent doesn't die.
Just so.
JP Gray, I'm going to put you in timeout if you don't stop trolling our guests. Being silly.
It's fine. It's fine. Do they live on Mars? There is a Martian faction. There's two Martian factions. Will it always be all robots, or are there plans for Godzilla, kaiju, monsters in the future? Ray, when I first started this out, I wanted it to be all human. I'm not going to say anything about aliens at this time.
Good man.
I'm not.
He's leaving himself an out, chat. That's what I'm hearing.
I don't say. Like I said,
pleading the fifth.
I may not like Evangelion, but I do know Evangelion.
He's pleading the fifth.
And I also know.
That way, when he comes back
Tech?
later with a cool alien faction, he can be like, "See."
No, I don't know what you mean. I have not a clue. Okay, maybe okay. It's still percolating through my brain right now. I'm just going to leave it at that.
That makes sense. We're all right with that.
Oh,
I like the fact that what you're telling me is that I can react, but unlike it's basically like Infinity, I get an ARO, and that ARO is technically free, and that's one of the things that's always kind of bugged me. I don't guess bug me, but we have had discussions here about, what if the ARO cost you an order, from your order pool? And then, of course, the difficulty there is, well, what if I already went this turn and spent all my orders? Now do I not get AROs in my opponent's part of this phase? And so it raises some questions on how to deal with that. Do you leave orders open? So instead of spending all my orders in my offensive phase, so to speak, I leave some, for defensiveness. But I like the concept, just as I'm noodling it here. I like the idea of risk reward that, okay, I've got the perfect, shot on this guy as he walks across this street. I could take him out defensively right now, but I really need to go get that objective on my turn. So what do I do?
Exactly. That is, thank you you made it very succinct, which is I appreciate, because I tend to blather a little bit.
We all do. He told me I was succinct. That's the first time anyone has ever said that to me.
Did you even know what that word meant?
Brandon, you and I are fast friends.
Thank you. Well, in that case, I'm glad to have a friend. Yet another. Awesome. Will orbital or space combat be a thing? Possibly. If I do, I would have to make it in a different scale. I'm not going to lie. Will there be orbital space stations vis-a-vis Side 7, Side 5 from Mobile Suit Gundam? Yes. I even had an idea for a map of Lagrange colonies at one point. But that is still way far in the future. The ideas that I were having were very complicated for a war game. Shooting across the center of a doggone Lagrange colony into the opposite spectrum, so to speak, and hitting a target, I think it would have been, it's a little bit harder to envision. But yes, there will be space combat. Think 500,000-ton cruisers that can go faster than light. These are machines that basically rival your modern-day Star Destroyers and other massive units, but there are not that many of them. They are a very rare resource for the Dominions.
So will there be a spacefaring aspect to this game? Will there be a ship combat, like ship-to-ship? Atmospheric?
If I do get the opportunity, I think that I'll have to use a smaller scale. I'm not going to lie.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was going to say 10 millimeters kind of out of the question, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love that, but I don't know where we'd play it. We need this whole house to be able to do that.
Yes, you would. You need an entire room.
But a la, like back in the day, a lot of us knew, like the fact that we could do like a Battlefleet Gothic scenario that then took us into a Epic Armageddon scenario that then took us into a 40K scenario, if you're familiar with Warhammer. then you get all of the scales mished and mashed together to give you this sense of this global conflict, as opposed to a skirmish game with 8 models on the table. Some people really dig. I love the skirmish because I hate painting a lot of models, and I love the rules of like Infinity, but sometimes it lacks the scale of mass combat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that was one of the things that when I started thinking in terms of like larger systems, one of my biggest things, and I'm sorry that everyone who's asking questions, Telemachus making friends is the only thing Slow Fuse Gaming does fast. Very funny, very funny. I like you, Telemachus. But apparently, so do I. So we're in the same boat.
How did I become the whipping boy of this one all of a sudden? Is that it?
I don't know what I'm just reading what they said there. I don't know.
Yeah, great. See if you get an invite back.
No,
I mean, it's in your name.
Insofar as and one of my big things, and I'm sorry to interrupt everybody, was like I didn't want this to cost a lot of money for people. Because I live on a minimum wage right now. I live on a minimum wage, and I personally have always had a love of wargaming. But one of the biggest complaints that I've always heard about first edition, second edition, third edition, fourth, sixth, seventh, eighth, are we on 8th edition Warhammer today?
Yeah.
Is how everything has constantly kept changing. My big thing is when I create these rules and I finish that, Ray, I will answer your question very shortly with this. When I created this system, I want to be able to freely update it, freely change it, and that way you don't have to pay any more extra money out of your pockets for this game. You buy the models, you've bought the game. Okay, when the rules are finally finalized and everything is good to go, I will release it for free, and you all will have them. And whatever updates I make, whatever changes in the system have to be made, you will not pay an extra dime. That is one of my biggest things. I always want to be as inclusive as possible for the gamer who may not always have,
$50 to buy a book.
Yeah, $500 for an extra army or $700 for an extra army. I don't want that. I want you to be able to say, I like these models, and this is one of the beautiful things that you mentioned, was like how you want the Poseidon. Even if I don't get the Poseidon in this Kickstarter in Whisper Wave 2, it will come back in the next Kickstarter. Yes, you will get the opportunity to fund it for the next mold. Yes, it will be for sale. I am not going to stop on this until every single model is created.
I love that. Because you've got some really, really great designs. Again, !Whisper in chat, guys, and go check them out. Just check out the Kickstarter. Go to impactminiatures.com. You can see more about this model that I'm painting here. The Sokar. It's also got the Bastet with the like cat ear version of it. But yeah, just great stuff. And so I'm really happy to hear that it sounds like you've got a passion for this, obviously, that extends beyond just, what is right in front of us. Obviously, the Kickstarter's funded. It's got some models that are going to be coming out. But you're going to carry it on and make sure that your vision gets seen, regardless of, how far any individual crowdfunding goes or any edition goes. So I'm psyched to that. I think that's a great one.
I appreciate that. You said you love free rules, but you'd like a hard copy, Ray. All right. This is one of the things, and it's a caveat. If there is enough demand for a hard copy, I may start a Kickstarter to create a honest-to-God, fully fledged hard copy rulebook. However, I'm going to caveat that because I already have a few artists that I really love and that I follow on a regular basis, like Ilartwine Estelle, who did my work for Whisper in my chat in my group. I'm about to share one of his. It's actually the title, so to speak. The title for the Kickstarter is right here. There we go. Paste as plain text. Okay, that's a big. Just click on that, and if you're on your PC, just click on that and take a look. That is the kind of artwork that Ilartwine does for me. And if I wanted to create this kind of rule set, I would want to introduce you all to the universe in full. The hardback copy would be very large, I'm not going to lie. And I would give you a lot of background. It would almost be close to a role-playing game in some ways, but just because that's how I envision the universe. But yeah, it's something I would love to do. And at the same time, I hesitate to say that I'm going to do it, because it is not cheap. anybody who has ever created a rule book, Mercs, Myth, the guys who have made those games, they can tell you it's not. It's up there. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. You have to go through a lot of editing, and plus, knowing myself as I know myself, I would want the best quality paper, best quality backs, best artwork I could possibly make. And any artist that works for me, I always try and support them at the same time. So I always have to kind of pay out of pocket for it. Drax79, we don't talk about army cost in the 40K hobby. Oh, well, I do. Sorry, Drax.
Hey, golden rule number 1, broken, right here on Slow Fuse Gaming.
Yeah, sorry. Any other questions? Oh, feel free. I'm here for another hour or so, actually. Probably. No.
One of the things that I've always said with regards to like printed rules is that, you know, it's a lot easier in most cases to allow people that want, you know, the printed rule set to simply, you know, PDF it, bind it, and they're still going to spend less if you go to your local Kinko's FedEx and bind all this stuff than not. Now, I understand for the collectability that doesn't fly for everybody. Some people are like, yeah, but, you know, I want the cool artwork on the cover and I want the glossy and all of that. So
you gotta move up.
I can see both. What's that?
I was saying move up.
Oh, you know, I can see it from both directions. As a manufacturer, I know we're up against the fence a lot with regards to, you know, requests people, you know, want to see with our products. And it's sometimes things that we're like, oh, I agree 100% with that. Can't happen. You know, and that might be something that you know, as Whisper grows, that you grow into, you know, where you do like special edition rule set, you know, publication, you know, for a dealer. Maybe that's another Kickstarter, you know, and the people that want to back it can back it. Who knows?
Yeah, that is a very good point. I appreciate that. Ray, is it going to be objective based or murder your face based? Both.
Yeah. Yes.
It will not be. I have objectives in mind because they are special forces. They will be designed for, as I see it, surgical use. We call it surgical strikes in the military. I had the honor and privilege of working alongside those boys a couple of times. They're very, very professional. And usually when they go out on a mission, they have a very specific set of objectives that they complete before the mission is concluded, and they don't stop until it's over. Any of the Marines, JP? Yes, there is a Marine variant in the actual universe, but I haven't created him yet. It's actually a variant of the Sokar / Bastet,
which is the mech we're painting right here.
Yes. This one, however, is going to be the Marine variant is designed for. You know what? I'm gonna be talking all night long. I'm leaving Jen out. Sorry.
She doesn't normally mind that at all. Don't let her fool you.
All they ever do is tell me dad jokes, so you're fine.
Okay. Well, the Marine variant will be designed for, you know, the Marines. Obviously, it'll be a little bit simpler in its design. Still cool looking. I've got a couple of poses that I have in mind for it, but it'll be designed more for massive combat, which when I mentioned the whole, you know, I want to make this as affordable as possible. Okay, these guys were part of my idea for mass combat. Was, I believe you're familiar with the Infinity term, fire team.
Yep.
Okay, there you go. I had an idea that I would utilize a similar mechanic for a more massive combat system.
I like it.
And it would probably be a little bit larger than that. I mean, right now you're looking at a 4x4 table. With the addition of mass combat, you'd probably be looking more 6 foot by 4 foot.
Okay. I like, you know, I guess that's a good point to kind of hit on, is the scalability of the rules, and, you know, what can you do if you start in with, you know, a group of 4 or even a group of 2. You know, whatever you can start in with at a small. Is it points based? Because I saw a post in your Facebook group that said, you know, you number 1 says I don't want to use points in my game, and you number 2 says, you know, time for a gut check.
I saw that post. Yeah, I got gut checked by my own self. I hate it when it happens, but it did have to. It did have. Oh, yes, yes, Dilgar. It'll be resin. It'll be resin. Yes, Ray. They're resin. Resin. Video Caesar. Really glad to hear someone is thinking about making a game for players who can't afford to buy a $200 rule. Thank you, Video. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I wanted it to be affordable for all of you. Insofar as, oh God, what was I saying?
What did I mention? Whether or not there's a points cost, and then take that idea into how the game will scale, so that if I start in, like I'm the guy that's always telling people I like the games where I can dip my toes into it without spending $150, right? Infinity's great for that because I can spend $50 on a starter box and I can run through a small, objective-based run through on a 2x2 board just to get the rules down, and then I can say, ooh, I either love this game or I hate this game, but I can make an educated decision because I've seen all the game has to offer, other than adding more orders, adding more tactical ability with more units. But I can play with 5 units and know exactly how the game works. And, so scalability to me is a huge thing, but I want to hear from you, like with your concept on points values and building armies and all that, how does scale come into it? I don't mean physical scale.
Okay. Yes, the points kind of came up because I eventually realized that there was no way for me to balance the power rating between a 4th generation Whisper versus a 1st generation Whisper. 1st generation Whisper is the Tundra, which just funded on the Kickstarter, Whisper Wave 2, the one that everybody's been linked to. That is a 1st generation Whisper. It's actually not the very first Whisper to come out. That may show up later on, but it's a good base set. But in order to get the points correctly, I decided to do a tier system, which is in version 1.5 of the alpha rules. So what's going to happen is say you have a tier 1, you have a tier 1 through 4 unit, okay?
And tier 1 is the oldest. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's also it also plays a part in support units. So say you have a militia unit. A militia unit counts as one tier 1 unit. Okay. But there's 3 stands of 10mm infantry that you can place down. They have to stay in place, in formation with one another. They also have very few wounds, and they're very easy to kill. So they're not I wanted to play on the idea that, everybody wants to play the massive swarm armies at some point. Right. Yes, you can take militia with some of the factions, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be the best at what they do and they're going to die really fast. So I wanted to kind of delineate between the swarm army, which everybody uses, versus the elites. I wanted to kind of give a balance to that. But then at the other end of the spectrum is a tier 3 heavy power army unit, which is basically like Master Chief.
Right.
These are walking power army units that have, extreme ability to improve their wearers' work. These are, you only get one of them per slot, but they can carry their own weight.
Like a squad of elementals in BattleTech.
Exactly like elementals. Well, no, not exactly, because that'd be copyrights and whatnot. No, I don't want to do that. No, not exactly. But then again, the funny part about it is when you talk about power armor, every single unit that you see can trace back to Heinlein and Starship Troopers. His original idea really did kind of start like female power armor from Robotech. Yes and no. Not quite as large, right? Not quite as large. There are some bipedal units, which is why I give a certain few areas where people can throw in their own quote unquote militia whispers. They're not actually militia. They are bipedal power armors. No, JP, I cannot afford that kind of power armor. I'm sorry, real life power armor, you're going to have to wait until they actually finalize how to get power to mass ratios correctly.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're not there where you really want it yet anyway.
Mm-hmm. They're good. They're getting there, but they're not quite there. But yeah, the Whispers are basically a human being maxed out to the extreme and given the ability to travel through space. And then on top of that, there's about 75 different planets which we've colonized. So we've spread out a little bit. We've actually seen the world and the universe. We haven't really encountered anything intelligent yet. Some fungus, some other stuff. We're able to, colonize these different worlds, but there are namely 6 dominions, which are the overarching powers of the world, of the universe, that are kind of slowly pushing and pulling on one another into a conflict. Like I said, there were 2 on Mars. There's one particular major one on Earth. And then on top of that, there's the, hey, Flippy, what's kicking? My Kickstarter. How you doing?
I love it. I love it. He's going to answer for everybody. I was like, I don't even have to do anything. People are going to be like, who's this guy talking to me? Why does Fuse sound so different today?
He's throwing his voice. It's ventriloquism.
What's going on, everybody? Just to bring everybody up to speed, if you're joining us now and hadn't been here in the beginning, the voice in the background that you're hearing is Brandon from Whisper, which is the mech that I'm painting right now. So he's telling us a lot about the different facets of the game and the rule system that's evolving into these great sculpts that he's got. Exclamation point Whisper in chat will take you over to the Kickstarter that's in its, I guess, version 2 of the Kickstarter. They already funded and fully delivered the first Kickstarter that they did, which is always a great sign. One of the great things about this one, by the way, Brandon, that I didn't even mention, and you may be able to speak to this, is the speed at which it looks like you're able to do this is amazing compared to other Kickstarters. I think it says that it's delivering first quarter of 2019. That's awesome. I mean, like that's really, really, really awesome. So.
Thank you. Yeah, well, that's I should give a huge shout out to Impact on that. The last Kickstarter that I did was a year ago. Literally, it almost started 365 days earlier to this second wave. And in fact, we actually would have gotten them out within a few months earlier, but I had made a few mistakes myself, and I claim it for myself. I actually had to go on unemployment, and I had to work on some stuff personally. So I had to send it back to Impact, and Impact was able to finish up the shipping. Great guy, great, very, very timely man. Yep. There are certain people in the Kickstarter world, if you back him, he's going to deliver. Impact is one of them. Tom is just one of the most fantastic guys I could have ever ended up with.
Lover of miniatures, lover of everything in our gaming world. He's a great guy. Getting to talk to him, being next to him at Adepticon was a lot of fun. And then, of course, that has turned into us doing what we're doing right here, being able to talk to guys like you. So it's a good family dealing with Impact for sure.
Ray is enjoying this. Ray said, gotta say I miss Gloves Off terribly. This has been an awesome thing so far tonight. I love learning about new games and stuff in a more face-to-face setting.
Nice.
It is a lot like Gloves Off.
John Patrick MCP, I do not want to talk about Palladium. Please, let's not talk about Robotech RPG Tactics, please.
Yeah, please. No.
I am so sorry. I am very sick because I can't tell you how many people I'm on Robotech or Robotech unofficial and Robotech what is it? There's another group on Facebook. But yes, I'm very familiar with all of what happened there, and I'm so sorry. Truly, I'm not them. Greenleaf's Terrain Studio, whispers sound great and all, but my Mark IV screams might smoke you. I don't know about that, Greenleaf. I might have to see you on my 4th generation. My 4th generation might do some...
Gauntlet's thrown. I like it. You got to keep that Greenleaf in his place, by the way, too. So.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's good. He's got some Mark IVs. I'd like to see them. Will all the units be kept in balance, like how a tank has to be supported by infantry, or it's vulnerable to an AT team? Or will there be game over units that once they hit the battlefield will be hard to stop? Video, I will answer that with the Scorpio is one of the more massive ones in my Whisper Wave 2. You may look into the Whisper Kickstarter and actually take a look at it. It's pretty sizable. It's a quadrupedal design that can carry a 50-millimeter Gatling cannon, as well as a missile pod. However, it can be taken down. I tried to balance the units and the objectives based upon each unit's ability to complete it. Militia, per se, will not be able to access, say, computer terminals because they don't have an advanced enough system to access it. Whereas a Bastet or a Sokar can access the terminals and actually download the equipment for the objective, or download the information for the objective and then get out. But so on and so forth. But yes, there's no real game over units. The 4th generation Whispers that I was mentioning include like the Loki. The Loki is a Whisper that was just now designed. It's a prototype, but it's just now starting to hit limited edition per se, and it's capable of creating holographic images of itself around the battlefield in order to make itself harder to hit. And therefore it can close into close quarters combat and start really tearing stuff up. If you've ever seen Gundam, if you're familiar with the Goof, I always call it the Goof, and you're familiar with its tentacle launching out and hitting something and wrapping it up. This is what the Loki can do. It has a couple of power-assisted, rocket-assisted flails, threads that it can throw out to entangle an opponent and then bring it down. Voton. Jason, sorry you had to reboot, brother. Mark Force, I was talking about Greenleaf's Terrain Studio. He was saying he says, Whisper sounds great, but my Mark IV screens might smoke you in combat. Ray, is there a possibility of an environmental hazards table? There is. There is.
Thank you, Captain Joey.
Again, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm taking up so much.
Yeah, I'll bounce through you every now and then. Sorry about that.
I apologize.
Oh, you don't have to apologize.
Joshua Tumbry, the game father, Fo42. Joshua, everyone, is one of the guys that I support and is also a friend of mine. He's eating right now, obviously.
That's awesome that he joined.
Yeah, glad to have you with us, my man. Environmental hazards, I haven't really been able to get fully finalized yet, particularly because the idea of there being a hazard would imply that someone had started to begin using nanotechnology. There's red goo and gray goo. Both of these are very, very, how do I say this?
Now he's making me hungry.
Okay. Yeah, well, maybe not. In Whisper, nanotechnology has been made a possibility for medical applications. So it can treat cancer, it can treat various sorts of disease, viruses, and it can kill them. However, the same nanotech that saves lives can also be used to deconstruct a body or a car or a tank. And that is where red goo and gray goo come in. So they are basically the WMDs of their world, but they're on a level that is above that of a chemical or a biological weapon. They are a very serious threat, which is why, in fact, the original Whispers were created, was because somebody threatened to use red goo on a capital city in Earth. Hey, Scratch Prof. So the Special Forces Whispers of all the Dominions have a standing order that if any threat to a WMD is unlocked or found, they will hunt down that opponent immediately and eliminate the threat immediately. There is no question. If you are trying to create a WMD to, make yourself heard, you're going to be dealt with very harshly. There's not going to be much of a judge or jury in the matter. It's going to be, you'll see the executioner when you see him. Probably about the time he enters into the atmosphere.
I love that they are so specialized. I love that it is, because I feel like every time I start thinking about giant robot stuff, is some of them fail to give me the actual feel that this thing is powerful as it is, There are games out there. I mean, Infinity fails at this to some extent. You can bring a tag, and I want a tag to be something awesome, and tags can die instantly. And I get it. You need balance in a game so that nobody feels like they're absolutely getting their teeth kicked in if they don't happen to have that OP unit on the table at the time. But there needs to be some sort of, I don't know, fine line we can ride to make it seem like these types of things when they show up are a butt puckering moment. You know, that you really better start playing your best if you want it to get through it, because this guy can wipe out half your army if you let him go unimpeded.
Yes, and therein lies one of the reasons why I did give
Yeah.
critical hits an ability, because in the even the militia, even the lowly militia that I was talking about, that they do have an opportunity to hit you hard enough that they will cause an automatic wound. And if they cause an automatic wound, well, guess what? Your Whisper just took a really hard hit. And some people might say, well, wait a minute, that's not fair. I'm going to be like, yeah, actually it is, because even if you were a militia, if you're being expected to go onto the battlefield with a very specialized opponent like a Whisper, they probably throw you at least one anti-tank missile in the hopes that you do something to it.
Yeah, it's not just going to be sticks and stones. So, guys,
Yeah,
we are
they're not
losing
gonna
Jen. Her back is killing her, so unfortunately, she's out of here.
Sorry.
Sorry,
Bye,
baby.
everyone.
Go get comfy.
All right, Jen.
Have fun, guys.
Thank you.
So I'm going to kill Jen's camera real quick. And, thank you, baby.
All right, we're good. Thank you very much again, Miss Jen. Appreciate it. Hopefully your back kind of settles down after a little while.
She's got big problems. Although she's found a chiropractor that she really likes right now. The doctors and surgeons that she's spoken to haven't been able to do a damn thing for her. She refuses to go do like spinal fusing practices, because those, I don't know anybody that I know that's had that done that has ever had it turn out well. So
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm familiar with that in my own family. My mother has scoliosis, very heavy. She has 2 bars down her back. My father had fusing done of his spine in the lower regions, because the lower lumbar regions, due to spina bifida and some wear and tear over the years.
yeah,
So I'm very familiar with back
it's
pain,
heavy duty.
and it is heavy duty. So
Your back is one of those things that as long as it's good, you never think about it. But as soon as you have back pain, it's the worst thing on the planet. Close to the worst thing on the planet. C. Janes asks, what do you suggest for smaller paint setup? C. Janes, you see the racks, but honestly, you're painting Necrons and you don't need 30 paints. C. Janes, are you talking about like just in general in your, like on your desk? How would you set up for a small kind of area to paint, and what materials you need and all that? Because a lot of people can just do most of what they, need in, like, I dread to say like a small cardboard box, but you get the area of like a small cardboard box. One of our paint racks holds 64 paints, but one of our shelf racks can hold a very minimal amount of paints along with your brushes and everything else. So you could start there, and then as you grow, build into it, but never feel like you got to have anything. I mean, just a small desk with enough space is really all you need. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. A lot of people that are here in chat will tell you that they move their paint stuff around their house. They'll paint in the living room with the family sometimes, and they go to the dining room, then they go to their office, and they're in the bedroom, then they're in the garage. So a small mobile kind of setup can work for you just as well. Because at the end of the day, you need a handful of paintbrushes, a thing of water, a box for your paints to sit in, and some paper towels, in my opinion. And probably something underneath if you're going to ruin the tablecloth on the table and your wife, mother, brother, roommate is going to yell at you or throw sharp objects, you probably want to take care of the area around it. But other than that, you don't need a whole lot. It's a pretty simple gig.
Video Caesar, will there be other limitations such as the risk of hitting your own units? I haven't included friendly fire into this just yet video. However, for certain burst weapons, I might include the possibility of damaging your own units if they're in close quarters combat. But that would be with a specific subset. Typically, when I think in terms of the weapons that are being used, missiles especially will do that kind of damage. Joshua, thanks a lot for stopping by. Enjoy your evening with the boys. I hope you stay safe. So yeah, insofar, but one of the big things is like, these are, rail guns and, a couple of weapons. Typically, if you're going to fire your weapon, you want to clear your front. That's typically what a tanker thinks about when he first decides he wants to fire a main gun. You clear your front. But yeah, the friendly fire will probably be limited to burst weapons, missile weapons, and not much else, just because of the many possible issues that could come up trying to measure a line of sight in the process. It's just there's a certain point where it's going to get real cluttered. All right, so what else we got here? Anybody got any questions about his rack? Since there's so many of them.
This is when you're going to start selling the mini racks. What are the mini racks, Ray? You showed off the prototype of. Are we talking about the flex rack, where you can do the adjustable shelves? The flex rack, we have one here in the studio that I showed off. If you look at Wednesday's video, I think I took the. Was it Wednesday, guys, that I took the camera down off the mount and showed my setup here in the studio? One of the racks that I have here is one of our flex racks. It needs a little bit more mechanical engineering on it so that I feel like it's stable. I could send it out like it is, but I feel like I'm going to get calls from people saying, hey, I loaded up that really cool rack you sold me, and it broke. So I'm a stickler for the mechanical engineering, and right now we're at a spot where that one needs just a little more fine-tuning on it before I feel like I'm ready to release it out for public consumption. But it's pretty close. Now, when you call it the mini rack, that's, I mean, you can definitely put miniatures in it, but that's not its primary focus.
Scratch Prof, you may have already answered this. No, I did not actually. How do vehicles work compared to a Whisper? The Whisper is the elite. Yes, correct. However, that doesn't mean that they're invulnerable. The tankers have their place, and that's a throwback to my history as a tanker. The one thing I should say is that tanks cannot dodge. None of them can dodge. You have to, if they shoot at you, and I'm doing this as a caveat. In real life, yes, you can find a position in which you can avoid return fire. Yes. Slow but powerful is a good descriptor. Not really slow, though. Regular tanks will be able to move roughly about 6 to 7, maybe even 8 inches during a movement, whereas a Whisper will move probably anywhere from 10 to 12 inches. The reason being is the Whisper, a Whisper can dodge like a human, and it has a limited artificial intelligence included to allow it to juke side to side to avoid incoming fire. A tank, on the other hand, basically has to just sit there and hope that its armor will hold up to an incoming round. So they have heavier armor, and they do get 12-sided dice for their armor rolls, but they have no dodge ability. They just have the ability to react fire from the forward 180 degrees. Yeah, the forward.
They have to soak it
degrees.
to survive, basically.
Or kill it.
Deliver first and hope to not receive.
Pretty much.
The life of a tanker. Get there, do your job, and hopefully the other guys didn't do theirs better than you did.
Amen. That is. Yeah. Yes, they require cover. Yes, cover and hull down, just like real life. Scratch. That was my training. I don't always get to do it in War Thunder or World of Tanks because of reasons, but cover and hull down is big time. In this game, it's going to be, and that's why I wanted to make the Whispers the way they are. Mm-hmm. Well, a caveat, I only just started with War Thunder. That's because of Bo Time Gaming. Bo got me interested in World of Warships because of his humor, and then he got me interested in War Thunder. And I ended up downloading the game on my potato of a PC, and I've been grinding my teeth while I'm fighting in a U.S. tank against Russian T-34s. It's not fun. Yeah. Are you familiar with this?
War Thunder is a brutal game, man. It's a brutal game. I didn't like it because, it's like, in tanks, it's one of those things that I never really wanted to have that kind of realism. I don't want to get one shot, especially when the queues for PvP are so long. I was like, I just waited 15 minutes to play this game, and I got blown up by a freaking Jagdpanzer off in the background that I can't even see, that's in a tree on a map I've never played on, and I got one shot? What?
Well... I understand your concern. I can tell you, I've been playing it the last few days, and I haven't had to wait longer than 1.5 minutes for a game.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, if they're getting more people on, then that's a beautiful thing. Because I really did love the visuals on that one. I love the aiming and the more realistic kind of fire for effect things that you can do, and the damages and stuff than World of Tanks. Because World of Tanks with hit points is the opposite end of the spectrum. It's pure video game. So somewhere in between, I feel like there's a real winner. But
unfortunately for me, it was just more of a when I started in World of Tanks, I can't tell you how many times I would have a perfect shot lined up, and as a tanker, I know it should hit,
And
it just whiffs.
Oh, yeah.
And I started raging so hardcore over that, and then I got into War Thunder, and I was like, wait, where I'm aiming, I actually hit. Oh, thank you, God.
Yeah.
I finally bore sighted for once. So I ended up, I've been playing that for the last few days, and it's been fun. But getting back on if anybody has any questions about Whisper or anything, please feel free to ask. I am here all the time. Votom guy, kill it with heat before it lays eggs and spreads. Don't we all wish, my friend? Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure World of Tanks is going to stick around for a long while to come.
I still play it. I still love it. It's just I have to go into it understanding exactly what I'm getting.
I understand that feeling so well. I kind of gave it up and said, you know what? I'm going to stick with War Thunder at this point. I've kind of perfected it just a little bit in a few games, but the real problem is when you get up against a T-34 or a KV-1 and you're just going, son of a gun. Hope to God it doesn't kill you. Gladiator, no, Ray. No gladiators in Whisper. I'm sorry. I can't follow down that route. I can't go Solaris 7 on y'all. Are there other vehicles other than tanks? No, it's fine, Scratch. We're here for a while. Yes, there will be wheeled vehicles. There will be light armor. There might even be some hover tanks. I'm not going to say for sure. I am a fan of Bolo and I am a fan of Ogre, but I'm not gonna tell you whether or not any of those blower tanks are going to appear. Giant robot kata is a thing. Ray, you and I, if you've ever seen Equilibrium, okay, if you're familiar with the movie Equilibrium and you know the gun kata, these guys could do it. Not that they're going to, because that's just more flashy and they don't need all the flash. The Special Forces boys that I knew, they didn't require
Equilibrium
much
the Christian
flash.
Bale movie?
Yes, it is. I'm glad somebody else saw it. It was actually really good for me. Personally, I thought it was
a very interesting story, and it was just one of those where the only reason that it was it became a tad laughable on some of the special effects, but I thought it was actually a pretty good story.
Yeah, I wish that they had worked a little bit on some of the special effects, but the storyline itself and the acting was actually very solid, especially with Christian Bale and the female character that he started to fall in love with. It was pretty. And then when you actually saw the twist at the end, where he was the one who sentenced his wife to, that was just, oh my God. But to those who don't know that whole thing, if you ever are curious, look up the movie Yes, look up Equilibrium with Sean Bean and Christian Bale. You'll actually enjoy it. Yeah, Sean Bean does not die in every piece of cinema. He did not die in Jupiter Ascending, Ray. But I know Jupiter Ascending may not actually match everybody's ideas of a good movie.
I was going to say, wait a minute, you're taking some liberties now.
I know. I some liberties I have, and I know I'm not. I know. But Sean Bean, I think, plays very good characters, and I'm sad to say, I think they've almost stereotyped him into those positions. So when Jupiter Ascending began, I expected him to die. And actually, if you actually look at that movie, he did not. So it was one of the rare ones where he actually survived, which I was actually happy for. I was like, thank God, somebody finally decided, let Sean Bean live for once. But it was...
I wonder if there was a petition.
I think there might have been. Because it was a bad... It was just like everybody was remembering him for his Boromir, and I was like, come on, guys. Like Michelle Rodriguez. Yep, Drac, yep. Yeah, he's like Michelle Rodriguez in some ways. If you want to start one, Scratch, I might sign it. Also, have you heard anything about whether Netflix or Amazon is going to pick up what's the show? Oh God,
The Expanse?
Signed the petition. Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
The Expanse got signed on, I think it was Amazon.
Thank God. I signed the actual petition on change.org. Thank you for reminding me, Scratch. I was so freaked out. I watched the first season and it was starting to build up. The second season, it got even better. The Expanse just kind of was like, and it's so much like Jovian Chronicles, and the designs are so similar to what I want for Whisper. I heard that they were canceling, and I went, what is sci-fi thinking? It's like that they're going to have another brain fart here in the short term. And I was like, sometimes I question who is running sci-fi. I honestly do. And to anybody out there who is a sci-fi fan, I mean no disrespect, but what in the world? It's like, oh. Yes, Ray, I'm the creator of Whisper. Hello. Yes, the voice behind the curtain. Hello.
That is Brandon, and he is the creator behind Whisper, which is this mech that I'm painting. Well, this is not Whisper. This is a Sokar, which is a Whisper. The mechs themselves are called Whisper. What is that name from?
Sokar is actually from Egyptian god.
But I'm talking more in Whisper. That's good to know too. Where did the Whisper come from? Where that whole concept of, calling them Whispers?
Walker Humanoid Integrated Suit Pilot Engagement Reconnaissance.
It's an acronym. I gotcha.
Yeah, it's an acronym. I'll write it out for everybody because I spend so much. Because I know so many people who are like, wait a minute, you actually created this off of yes, I created this off of a thing from my. That's a Scratch. It's actually not an exclamation point. My friend Greg Perkins took the liberty of using that one. It's actually this. Similar to the way the M1A1 Abrams is called a tracked, combat vehicle, 120 millimeter. I use that sort of Army acronym for the Whisper.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the exclamation point you see in our title font was actually a little liberty that Greg Perkins took with the design, and I don't really begrudge him for it. I think it looks awesome. I think it gives a little punch to it. Just like a side note. Ray, if I know Robot Jocks has gotten quite a following of late, so I might think about it. I'll keep it in mind, but I'm not going to make any promises to you just yet. Half expecting it to come from Full Metal Panic. Thank you, a grand student. That was Full Metal Panic was one of those animes that kind of influenced John when he first started creating these machines. But he and I have both been fans of this. We're fans of just about every anime known to man when it comes to mecha. Gundam, Escaflowne, Evangelion. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Evangelion, but I have watched it.
Was Escaflowne the one that was kind of like fantasy meets mecha?
Yes, it was. That is the one. Yep. It was. I personally thought, and yes, it was more targeted towards a female audience, but I thought it was an amazing story all the same. Arbalest style knife in its teeth. I give Martian successor Nadesico a shot. I will do that, Ray. I will. Thank you. Grenade launcher. The grenade launcher is actually on the actual main weapon of the Sokar, the actual rifle, Votom, Jason. I know that's Jason. Yeah, I keep thinking Votom guy because that's his handle, but it's Jason. That's the missile launcher option for the Sokar right there.
It had, I got the set that had the weapon upgrade sprue, and it came with a missile launcher, and I want to say that the thing that came with it originally was like the laser cannon. I forget what you call it.
Yes.
Like an MEP or something. Or
Deuces. I called it a deuce.
Okay.
Still one more name. Us GIs? Yes. That's actually...
Bad for your eye. Your dome light is on in your car.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And your keys.
Hang on a second. Hey, everybody. Hang on one second. I gotta take care of something real quick.
Perfect. Let me talk about this guy for a minute. Yeah, so I'm going through as you guys are conversing, and I am basically just hitting these areas where I want to try to find a little bit of metallic sheen. I'm up into my spaceship exterior, really bright gray right now. And as you can see, I'm just smacking on some really bright shine areas to try to create that metallic sheen, even though a lot of this is going to have color on it. Again, I'm just setting up for how that color is going to play in value.
Somebody
and
likes us.
Hey, thank you so much for that follow, Jay Rudro. And thank you so much for any of the follows that have come through while we've been chatting. We've got Brandon from Whisper. He is the creator of the story / miniatures / game / IP that this mech comes from. And so he has been kind enough to join with us tonight and has given us a lot of really good insight into the whys and hows and what of Whisper. And they have a Kickstarter going right now that if you type !Whisper in chat, it'll take you over there. You can get a good feel for the mechs. But the mech that I'm painting right now, actually, this Sokar / Bastet, it comes with multiple head options, so it has different configurations you can set it up for, is available now. And you can go to Impact Miniatures and get them. The first Kickstarter funded a while back, and these guys are great. You know, all their stuff is available. I think that there are multiple, I guess the Sokar, this particular mech, is kind of the basis for a lot of what happens in the Whisper world. It's probably like one of the prime Whispers that you see. And there's a couple of different configurations and poses for it that are available right now, as well as a mech that I think is called a Raptor that flies, or it looks like it's a little more nimble. We've got that one here, but I didn't get a chance to build it up before the show, unfortunately. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff available right now, as well as the alpha rules that we're talking about, and the ability to use just about any figure that you'd like to use in this game in order to make sure that you can get it going as soon as possible. And there's second round Kickstarters going on right now, and it has some really, really cool mechs that would be great to see. They've already funded the Kickstarter. Now it's really just about getting more of the target, like the goals, met to get more of those mechs into production this time around. But as Brandon has said, he is committed to making sure that all of the really cool ideas that he's got on the table will make it out eventually, regardless if they fund like this time around in the Kickstarter or not. He's got a vision for this, and it looks like he's got a pretty solid plan for getting there over time, which is always awesome. I love supporting cool people that have got cool ideas. For nothing else, then, I mean, this mech is bitching. So again, I'm just punching some highlights on. Even though we're going to come back and paint most of this in other colors.
All right, I'm sorry. I had to.
Oh, no sweat. It gave me a chance to talk about what we're painting, how I'm doing with it right now, because I'm just kind of banging in our highlights. I'm about to move to pure white and do the last little spot highlights, and then we'll move into some color.
See, now I kind of wish that I had an airbrush. I don't have one yet.
They are the angel and the devil on your shoulder, right? There's a misconception out there in the world that airbrushing is cheating, and I'm always like, well, I mean, if a hammer is cheating when building a house, then yes, an airbrush is cheating. But an airbrush is the perfect tool for getting a lot of your work started so that you can really focus in on your brush work for all the detailing that miniatures require, rather than spending a lot of time doing base coating and all the stuff that we hate doing with a brush in the first place. So.
Yep.
But if you can get good at it and can control it, then yeah, airbrush is literally a no-brainer for me. I do so much close-in detail work with it, as well as base coating and everything. I can get the airbrush to perform some of my brush work on, if the scale is right for what I'm trying to achieve. Something like this, the details are small enough that we're probably going to just go straight to brushwork after I do a little bit of this white.
Awesome. Ray asks, so no fin funnels a la Gundam. No, there won't be any fin funnels. There won't be any psychically controlled weapons. Basically, the actual machine is psychically controlled, if you consider it kind of like the Matrix a little bit. Once you plug in, you're actually a part of the machine. So you're seen as if you were the machine. So it's similar in some respects to heavy gear as well, because the heavy gear has, the actual pilot's head inside the head. similar to Votom's. So there is some Votom's influence. Votom guy, yes, I know.
Hey, hold that
And
thought. I got something. Votom guy is in chat, and I thought about it as soon as I saw his name. Hey, Votom guy, check out this. We'll be painting this soon.
Nice.
We've got this all built. We're doing a series of mecha dioramas, 2 at 1/20th scale, which is this, and the other one is I don't want to bend him up too bad here. The other is a Maschinen Krieger Mark 44 suit that we were doing, that we've been doing some of the paint on stream so far. We did a big tutorial on how to do the metal texture on this guy. I took the smooth plastic and textured up so that it was like cast steel. And so we're doing 2 dioramas in 1/20th scale and 1 in 1/35th scale with one of Luca Zampriolo's mechs that he's sending over. And they're all going to be Tank Girl inspired. So they all have a female protagonist in them that is, you know, pink and yellow and blue haired with lots of tattoos and lots of, you know, Charlie Don't Surf engravings on the mecha and stuff. So my Votoms is going to get a little butchered for a Tank Girl homage, but it should be a lot of fun.
Wow, that's impressive as all get out. Wow. While you show that off, let me answer Caesar07. Will there be any Whisper variants like the gun tank, gun cannon? Gun cannon is actually kind of already there. It's actually the second. It's our flagship machine in the Whisper title. If you actually look at it in the Kickstarter, it's called the Osiris/Obelisk. People have also likened it to the what's his name? Glitter Boy from Riffs. It's a very massive railgun. It's actually a capital class railgun mounted on the shoulder. So the gun cannon did get some shout outs in Whisper. The gun tank, I haven't really finalized any tank bottomed mecha for the game. Yeah, I can't imagine how much time it's going to take you to battle damage that guy up.
Wait, there has to be battle damage? Wait, what? Wait, what?
I
need to. Oh yeah, I got to show the kangaroos
as well, my friend.
The kangaroos for Booga. If you're familiar with Tank Girl, I have 1/20th scale kangaroos that are anatomically correct, I guess.
Wow, yowzers!
Kangaroo
That's
sack.
incredible.
But this one's pretty funny because that's boxing kangaroo. That's going to be. I mean, I know I can't get like too humanoid like Booga really was, but I felt like in the homage it was all right. But we have like a Playgirl kangaroo for the Armored Trooper Votom's diorama that's called Pit Stop, and he's going to be laying on a picnic table with a hamburger, French fries, and a Coke, while Tank Girl welds up the Votom suit, and so yeah, we have kangaroos.
Wow.
Wow. I found these 1/20th scale kangaroos that they sell in vending machines in Tokyo. Of course, like if you need anything really weird, just check and see if there's a vending machine in Tokyo that sells it. And I bet there will be. Just say. Let me take a moment. Light and passion. Thank you guys, everybody. Welcome. Don't you know the Germans have sniper tanks in World War II video, Caesar? Not a thing. Emeritus, what's going on? This mini is from Whisper. This is Brandon Keith. It's in the chat with us. And he is the developer of this. And it is a 10 millimeter scale, not 1/10. It's a 10. Jesus, 1/10. Can you imagine? It'd be like a story tall. It's a 10 millimeter scale model. So if you can get a feel for that, it is much like what we're used to in like the Cav and the BattleTech mechs. It's along the same principal idea as far as scaling goes. You can imagine there is a pilot in this backpack area. This top area of the backpack, I believe, is more like the cockpit. And he pilots this, and he is an elite soldier that has been given this, you know, massively awesome suit for combat. And Brandon is telling us all about the game. So that is what we're doing tonight. I'm painting it. I'm being fairly quiet. If you have questions, please ask. I will go through it right now. We just handled that one. Is there a particular reason for taking the nozzle off the airbrush? Me so corny. Yeah, for me, if I feel like my paint mix, it's doing what I want on the model, but it might be giving me a little bit of tip dry, meaning that I feel like I'm getting spatter, then I will take the crown off, that tip guard, or we call it the crown of the airbrush, this thing.
Likes us.
Right? If you take that off. Assassin Rage, thank you so much. If you take the crown off, it just allows you to kind of see that buildup as you're painting, so I can tell if I'm getting paint and tip dry, whereas with the crown on, visually I can't really tell. So does it change the spray? Not really. It does condense the cone of spray a little bit, depending on the PSI that you're working with. I'm running at about 21 PSI, so this would make a little bit finer cone in principle. In application, that's not really, in practical application for miniatures, it really doesn't alter anything. So whether it's on or off is really just a matter of me being able to see the tip condition as I'm spraying. But yeah, I would rather run the crown on because I'm clumsy and I'll bump the crap out of the brush. But if I feel like I'm getting dry tip, then I will, you know, I'll take it off so I can monitor all of that. Finally seeing the model in this with you where you can see the detail and see the detail pop out. Yeah, because just in the black primer you can't find any of that actual sculpted detail, and now you're being able to start seeing all of the differentiation between plates and panels on the model and all of that, which is where it starts to pop alive. So for sure. Yeah, like I said, the sculpts are great on these. They're all ball jointed, so the areas where things fit together have got ball joints so that the arms have a little bit of range of motion when building them. I won't say it's a complete range of motion. You can get the weapon swap sets, and they have different arm variants. Like there's a different arm with the sword that's not quite as pinched in to the body like this. It hangs a little bit lower out to the side. So they've done a lot with regards to that, and because of the ball socket for the shoulders, this is literally a 4-piece model. It has a head, 2 arms, and a body, and that's it. Like the backpack was already part of the body. All of this is already just super. It can't be any easier to clean. It's a very hard resin, so it's easy to scrape, easy to clip. All of the details were solid on it, so I give it a tremendous thumbs up as far as hobby value. Because it was simple to put together and very easy to clean, and now we can jump into painting very quickly, and because the detail looks really nice, just, you know, even with simple airbrushing going on so far. Big Bob, what's happening?
Ray,
Welcome.
Big Bob, thank you.
And Grins, what's happening, guys? All right, I'll turn it back over to you, Brandon. Sorry to interrupt you there.
I'm sorry.
Make sure I'm getting everybody.
No,
don't feel like that we're ignoring them.
I just realized Scratch Prof actually mentioned who he is. It's Dallas Walker from our Whisper Facebook group. Again, I'm going to link the Whisper Facebook group here.
Please do,
If
yeah.
anybody has any interest in joining. Yep. Hey, good to see you, Dallas. Thanks for coming by. I did see your comment, even though you had to delete it afterwards. God bless you, my man. And then we have Ray was asking about will heavy gear models be in scale? Not quite in scale, but since it's 10, 12 millimeter, I kind of give it a little bit of a wish-wash. Yes, you can bring those models in if you want to use them as stand-ins for something. Feel free. I'm not gonna stop anybody from doing that. Let's see. Got a lot of great suggestions for anime, Shannara, some other stuff that's awesome. R.A. Salvatore, I'm glad somebody else has read him. Amaritas, yes, I actually did back the Battletech game that they put out for Harebrained Schemes. Personally considered them to be a very good, solid company. So I've been reading up on everybody in the Battletech International Facebook group while they've been journeying through it. And a couple of guys that I know, 1G, and also another good painter. I hope you don't mind.
Oh, no.
If I throw out Mr. Oh, God. So many names, so many people.
Yeah, that's the problem with these days, right? There's just too many people. It's a great community, but it makes it really hard to remember everybody that's being cool because everybody's so cool.
Exactly, and that is one of my biggest fears, is like forgetting somebody's name like I just did. Hang on one second. Let me go look, because I got him in as a Facebook friend as well. Master Guns Paintworks. Yes, that's the guy. Master
Oh yeah, I've
Guns.
seen some of his stuff. I've seen some of his mecha. He's done some Cav and some other stuff, I believe, that's really, really good.
Yep.
I found him through all of the BattleTech and all those kind of sites.
Todd is actually, Todd also did my original SOCAR and Bastet for
The red one?
For the first Kickstarter. Yes, he did Red Fox.
Nice.
So he was a great help, an awesome guy. All right, Vota. Hey, take it easy, Jason. Sorry, Jason. Yeah, I understand. Take it easy out there.
Thanks, Votoms. Good to see you.
Feel good.
I'm just bumping
Thanks,
things up with a
Impact.
little bit of
And
white.
I see we have Impact has joined us now. Everyone, Impact Miniatures. That would be the man that I've been talking to you about, as far as the original mastermind behind it all. That is Tom Anders, ladies and gentlemen. So,
hey, Tom, what's happening?
Shout out to Impact.
Glad you got a chance to join us. We've been shouting you out. If I've been trying to tell everybody, not only did we start the Chibi Pit Lord this week, but these guys are available on Impact Miniatures right now. You don't have to wait for the current Kickstarter to close to get your hands on an awesome model like this. If it's something that interests you, you can head over to Impact right now and pick them up. You can get, like I said, I think the 4-pack is under $50, which to me is incredible. That's a great price for great miniatures. And if that is kind of, your troop outfit for playing the game, even better. Because I feel like that's a great entryway to get in. Buy a couple of these. If you could get away with buying 4 and sit down with 2 in the Alpha Rules with a friend and get to play through. That's what we kind of focus on around here. While I love huge games and I love building big armies personally, I just hate painting them. I feel like I said before at the beginning of this stream that if you have the opportunity to test a game at a smaller scale, meaning fewer models on the table, but you can really get a feel for the rules themselves, and if you play a little skirmish game, by the end of it, you feel like, yeah, this is a cool game. I can see it scaling up to more models being perfect for me. Or, nah, it's not my cup of tea. I feel like that's where we need to be in the miniature world, right? I don't like the idea of buying, I got to buy 10 squads and put together a 1,580-point list in order to even see if I like this game. I mean, maybe you're lucky enough to be able to borrow an army from somebody, but I feel like most of us are like, nah, I just want to be able to try it. So I love that that Whisper sounds like a game where I can, sink my teeth into it pretty quick without a lot of expenditure and determine very fast whether or not it's something I want to, throw my time and effort at.
Epion 1201, welcome. Yes, Jethar.
Epion, thank you so much for that Twitch Prime sub.
Go ahead. Killing Time Painting. How you doing, Killing Time? I take it this is a friend of yours, Jason?
KTP is one of our mods. He is a regular here, big friend of the channel, been around for quite a while. We've got so many people here that, new or old. We have one of the best communities going on Twitch, no matter what anybody says as far as the size. Like, yeah, we don't need 5 million people here to have some of the people that will help you the most. So these guys, everybody that comes in here and talks in chat is pretty much an ace individual, except for Greenleaf and maybe a couple others. I get to call some people out. I get to troll my viewers every now and then. I reserve the right. So
resident mod troll. Nice.
No, it's nice. a great community, great people. KTP is one of those. But I hate singling people out because everybody's so great. So.
Just doing my random 2 to 3 month pop in to say hi. Hi, Epion. How you doing? Reiner 72. Love checking out your stuff at Adepticon Impact. Yep, Reiner. I can tell you, I stopped off at Gen Con last year, first time ever. I mentioned it earlier in the show, but I'm pretty sure quite a few people have already moved on. But yeah, I was there to see some of Impact stuff, and I actually did buy a couple of their miniatures, a couple of things for my lady, just some chibis because I know she would have loved them, and they just make great quality stuff. So Whisper is being made in whole by Impact, including on the Kickstarter. Everything is done through Tom, and I can't say as you see in the video right here with Jason working on it. It's just some incredible work.
Yeah, the minis are fantastic. No gripes from me at all. As a matter of fact, I think we're done with our work. We can start working towards other colors. Believe it or not, we're going to be doing this guy in yellow. So yellows, whites, and a little bit of black or blue steel on there as well. So we should be able to get away with a lot on those colors with maybe some red hazard symbols and things like that, because at 10mm scale, even though this looks like a power armor suit with a dude inside of it, the reality is that this has got a pilot that's probably about yay tall. in it. And so we get the liberty of doing some things to bring the scale into focus, like, you know, unit markings and hazard symbols like no step and, you know, things like that we can do that'll be very, very tiny scale to kind of bring it all back around so that it doesn't just have the feel of a dude in a suit. Because we got, you know, we're used to this, right? We're used to this, and this is the kind of feel that we get when we're doing battle mechs. This is a Cav mech, and I love their stuff. I don't like their resins. From a hobby perspective, they get a very low score, but I love the designs. But it's something we're used to along the lines a la BattleTech. And but the lithe kind of agility that's built into a suit like this, as we listen to Brandon tell us the story of what, you know, a Whisper is, and the, you know, the quality of pilot and the quality of equipment wrapped around him, this is very intriguing to me. You know, I said that it has more Neon Genesis, you know, Evangelion feel to it than Gundam, and I know Brandon doesn't like the Evangelion as much, but I think that the point gets made either way, that, you know, you get a different feel for mecha from these guys, and I'm a fan of that. I love the fact that it's doesn't have to be bulky square with huge cannons sticking out.
I may not be a fan, Jason, but I take it as an extremely high compliment that it does receive that sort of recognition from you, because it was, like I said, my guy John, who was the original artist, and I linked him in earlier at H Hello. It was one of his major influences was Evangelion when he started this. He also was influenced by Macross. He had planned on some transformables. I looked at the humanoid bodies and I thought, you know, I think we should just stick with just single stage, you know, humanoid Whispers instead. But however, some of his more mechanical units like the Scorpio will be making a debut, and I'm pretty sure a couple of people have already mentioned it, the quadruped design.
Yeah.
And yes, the one person earlier was asking about the Caprice Army box from DreamPod 9. Yes, it is still, I believe, in Kickstarter right now, or it might be in backer kit if you want to check it out. Pretty good deals there. Actually, no, the Caprice Army box is actually available from DreamPod 9 right now. But the Scorpio, while it has some Caprice taste to it because it is a quadruped design, that is wholly from John's mind. John was the one that envisioned that one, and when I looked at it, I thought, okay, this is a big hulking beast of a machine right here. So I sent it over to Marchand Atelier at my friend Glenn's suggestion, and I said, can we please, you know, do this machine? And he said, absolutely.
Nice.
I spoke with Impact about it, and Impact was like, yes, we can get it done. He said, this is how we'd have to part it out. He made a prototype for me, and I shared that prototype up on the Facebook group. I believe there are still some pictures over there if anybody wants to check it out. Yes, the Heavy Gear 1. Yeah, you're right, Dallas. The Heavy Gear 1 is ending soon for Peace River. So if people want to jump over there and take a look, they can. Feel free. Ray, I could totally see that one painted up Ava 01 style. Yeah, that would be...
I'm not going to lie to you. It's not. It didn't. You know, it sat on my mind longer than just a second or two of whether or not to do. You know, like purple and, you know, all of those colors. But to me, I wanted, because you know. Okay, so I love to give you guys a feel into the kind of thought process for me as I envision what a miniature wants, you know, to be as I paint it. A lot of that happens during the build as I'm putting it together, especially, you know, if I can define the position a little bit. You know, this one you didn't have to. It has a pretty dynamic pose without being overly so. It's not like leaping off of a wall that looks a little funky and you get tired of that. This one is a pose that is just, you know, really simple, but always gives it a little bit more dynamicism than, you know, standing there with its arms crossed or hands on the hips. And it has a good dimension to it. So because, though, of the torso twist and the posing being so anatomical, being so fluid, so it's not, you know, there's not a pivot at the waist, you know, it's not this guy, right? This guy can't do this pose, right? This guy has a pivot at the waist and some mechanical pivots for hips and knees and joints. I mean, you can see the joints. They're part of the BattleTech world, and you see how a mech can move. and so it does become clunky, and that's part of the allure to it. It's like a tank, right? It's this big heavy object. We can imagine the crew inside. This one, on the other hand, because it did have that kind of lithe feature to it, I said what I want to do is bring it back to mechanical. So I want to do the farm tractor paint job, so to speak. I'm going to do yellows and whites and metallics. And then we're going to battle damage that, and we'll have, like I said, little warning symbols on it, maybe some unit markings in red or, in blacks or grays or whatever we come up with. But I wanted to make sure that I gave some sort of reference back to the robotic nature, because the sculpt itself lends to being more human than robotic, and so that's just kind of a peek inside my demented mind, so to speak, of how to tell the story that I feel like I want to generate if I see this on the table. Because on this, with 10mm buildings, a skyscraper is only going to be like dreadnought height. It's going to be like this is going to be a building, like a 10-story building, next to this guy. And so I want to bring that scale back onto the model. And I felt like the bright colors and the Neon Genesis styling to it would keep it in the world of Power Suit. So I'm thinking more John Deere. Don't think I didn't think about John Deere green on this guy too, but we've already done the green Mark 44 here recently, so I wanted to do something a little different. Your namesake black and red, Zepion.
personally, I think I can appreciate the idea behind your thought process. It's not as demented as you think. And one of the things that I loved about John's designs was that when he designed it, he actually made sure that he didn't just keep it as like a standard paint job. Anybody can paint these things up in a certain squadron's colors, so to speak. So you have, I had one guy, Percival Sparkle Trout, on Facebook, who created some really awesome orange and white with black delineation on the Facebook, and I had to steal the pictures myself because they were so awesome.
Nice.
Very bright, which is why when you said I'm going to be doing yellow, I kind of grinned because I was like, okay, this is going to look very good. I already can envision it a little bit in my brain. So it's one of the beautiful things about the sculpts that Impact made is that the more you paint it up thinly, the more detail pops on it. And even with just base coats and a dry brush per se, you don't have to be as heavily skilled. Even a light dry brushing will bring out enormous amounts of the detail that are in these casts. And again, I have to give the shout out to Tom at Impact and also Marshan, just to realize the vision of the art. And that's why the Tundra, which was made by Alartwine, was my first target goal for the Kickstarter, because it was such a crowd favorite. And the next one that we might unlock at the end of this, I'm hoping we can unlock the Poseidon, but the next one up is the Osiris and Obelisk. And
I was going to say, I think there's one more. Last time I looked, there was one more before the Poseidon. So
Yes.
But they're all good. It's just, I looked at the Poseidon, when I saw the first link that I think Tom sent me, as a matter of fact, when we first started talking about the Whispers, and, I started looking at the Kraken arms thing, or it said Kraken arms, but it's a Poseidon with the Kraken loadout. And it's just got these huge fists that have monster laser cannons in the fist, I think. Is that what it is? I think the loadout is like laser cannons in the fists.
Deuces, as I call them.
It just is literally like this it looks like a close combat nightmare that could shoot you the whole time he's running up to you, about to put his big clawed fist into your face. I get these narratives when I look at certain models, as we all do, right? You get to be a little nerd forward, you see something that's cool, and it just immediately tells a story. It may not be the story the creator wanted. Who cares? Make your own story up. But if it creates a story in your head, then at that point in time, it's like, bam, it just speaks to me. I don't even need to have a game for this. Initially, I didn't even care if there was a game for this. I was like, this is a bitchin' model. I saw him in the case at Adepticon. I said, Tom, I need these. And he goes, ooh, that's a Kickstarter. It's coming out. We'd love to have the help, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, perfect. Let's do this, because these are really bitchin'. Because they create a narrative. They have dynamic enough sculpts. The other one of the Sokar is literally like on its knees prowling. It feels like the Bastet. Bastet, as one of the ancient, deities, has the kind of cat pounce feel feel to it, and that one looks like it's about to pounce. So I left the Bastet head for that one.
Superhero landing, as we called it.
Superhero landing, yeah, exactly. So I'm starting my yellows with golden brown, actually. So I'm taking Model Air Golden Brown, and I'm running it very, very what we call dirty water thin. Very little pigment, mostly water. So that I can make sure as I'm putting it on the model, as you can see, we're retaining all of our gray and brown from that pre-highlight. And this is going to be our shade layer. It turns all of our blacks and our grays and our bright highlights into that golden hue that we want, that gives us a good foundation for yellow. So I'm going to continue doing that while we talk.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. I love it already.
Caterpillar Yellow says still one more name. That's kind of what I'm going for, right? Is that, you know, that work site yellow, I think is going to be perfect. Just a little bit of orange hue to it at the end, which is why I'm starting off with this golden brown as opposed to what I might normally do, which might be like burnt umber. I'm not going to go that dark. I'm going to allow the colors to get a little bit brighter by not having such a dark foundation. A lot of times what you guys see me do is hit this first layer with a very, very dark shade. And I'm just allowing a lot of what we've done with the blacks and the grays to maintain my shade level with this golden brown, if I do it right.
Yeah, still one more. And you mentioned the Tundra stipple camo Nuke AM. Yeah, the Tundra, it would look very bad in Tundra, or I should say really great in stipple camo. It's much more, it's kind of a half and half. Let's see. Tom, I didn't even think about Attack on Titan when I thought about that. That would actually be pretty interesting. Let's see. All right, Killing Time. Take it easy. Good luck.
Get out of here, KTP. Have a good one.
Yeah. Still one more name. Superhero Landing. Hard on the knees. Yeah, it can be. I admit that. But it's still, but it looks great. It just, when several of my people that have bought into the first Kickstarter and bought the models and gotten them, they said everybody who's seen that particular version has just been wowed. And I think that's one of the more humbling things as the creator of Whisper, is, and working with Impact and Marchand, is seeing the reaction, seeing everybody's support of what's been going on. It's just been very humbling and very rewarding for me, because it just gives me my passion back, and it gives me back my drive to see everything through.
Talk to us about that. Talk to us about the time that it's been and how that road has been from, you know, development standpoint. You know, you are as close to a one-man band as it sounds like you would be able to get away with and do something like this. You've got good friends that you've talked about, good support in the industry that have been able to help you get the production and everything lined out. But tell us a little bit of insight into, you know, what makes Brandon do this? How did it go? What were the pitfalls? How close to you, or how close to giving it all up at one point were you, if any of that existed? You know, give us some insight into the development of something like this. I know a lot of people out there have great ideas, and a lot of times it helps to hear somebody who's doing it, has done it, and their experiences. So.
Well, if that's the case, I would have to say to those people that it's going to cost you at the beginning. It wasn't. I will kind of plug Marchand Atelier here. Their services were above and beyond what I would expect. They're like me. They're a two-man band down in Mexico, and there are a couple of guys who are really great graphic designers. Glenn McClune, who worked with Tom on a couple of chibis and a couple of his own games, he pointed me in their direction. The molds themselves cost quite a bit of money, I'm not gonna lie. That's why the Kickstarter is there. But the actual initial 3D print files were, you know, anywhere from $250 to $400, depending on options and what other stuff you wanted to throw in. But it was really just, the process became much more fluid as time went on, because the art was already so on point, and I was blessed with John's giving me permission to use his stuff. Like I said, I had envisioned this as a role-playing game at the beginning, which is where all the background came from. But after a while, I realized I was only a one-man band, and I'm not exactly going to be able to complete an entire role-playing game without a lot of playtesting. So I kind of let that go until I met Glenn, and Glenn was like, Brandon, why don't you just do this instead? And I just kind of thought about it, and I was like, well, I had thought about it, but I'd never actually set my mind to it. So then it became.
Well, so let me jump in there real quick. If you were planning an an RPG, and did you already have these designs, would you have just gone ahead and just made miniatures for making miniatures, or was the whole thing going to get scrapped?
Honestly, I think that if Glenn had not mentioned Marchand Atelier, if he had not mentioned finding a good, solid artist to realize the 3D molds and then pointed me in the direction of Impact, I might not have even done that.
Gotcha.
I will be honest. It was a very trying time for me at the time, and
sure.
I was still trying to figure out, this is one of my passions. And we all know how it is with passions. People can, they rise and they fall and they go away over time. But this has been one of my passions that really just kind of, it was able to finally occur for me. And I finally was able to say, yes, I can do this. And that was in large part to the success of the very first Kickstarter.
Yep.
Was, those first initial backers saying, this is absolutely outstanding. I love it. I'm going to back you. I was literally within the first day I was funded, and I just went, I am so humbled. So it was
awesome.
Really just the journey has been, it's taken a while to get here.
Sure.
My time in the military played a part in it. Plus my decisions in life. But I mean,
were you doing this? Did you start this process while you were still enlisted?
Negative. At that time, I was still trying to get my foot in the door, so to speak, with DreamPod 9.
Gotcha.
But it was this is nothing against DreamPod 9. They are their own crew. They have their own visions, and my visions weren't quite the same as theirs.
In line, yeah, exactly.
It was just one of those things where it was like, I had helpful tips, and I had a lot of passion and support for their project. Over time, I finally realized, I got my own story that I could tell.
Right.
And John's work was the one that kind of sparked off the idea, and eventually it just grew into what it became, which is Whisper. What is this? Nuke AM asks, can the Osiris turn into some kind of semi-floating bombardment blimp? No, it cannot. I'm afraid there's no bombardment blips in this particular universe nuke. What the Osiris and Obelisk can do is it can travel in space, just like any other Whisper. It is sealed for atmosphere, but it's also designed that it can take down another capital class ship with enough firepower. However, over time it can overheat. So that one is, it's the next Kickstarter goal at $4,400. Right now we're sitting at $3,100. But if it does unlock, then yeah, we will definitely be shipping it out to the backers of Kickstarter.
Hey, somebody likes us.
Hey, who's that? Jabsuko, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome.
Oh.
And again, everyone, if you're new here, I am Jason, also known as Slow Fuse, and I am painting a Whisper Mech that is developed by the kind gentleman Brandon that is also in chat with us here tonight. That voice you hear speaking. So feel free to ask any questions. Go check out the link, !Whisper, in chat. We'll shoot you over. You can get the story, the beginnings, and see some of the visuals at the current Kickstarter. Also check out impactminiatures.com. That's where you can currently buy the Whisper miniature that I'm working on, as well as, I believe, what's called a Raptor. Is that correct, Brandon?
The Raptor. Yes,
the Raptor is a really cool one with a flying pack, kind of jet packy looking thing on him. It's a bitchin'. They're just awesome.
That one, yeah.
And get a feel for it, and then feel free to ask any questions. Brandon's been doing an absolutely awesome job of bringing us kind of into the world of Whisper, the whys and hows, the pitfalls, trials, and tribulations. I love hearing about the business side of it, right? I love hearing, because that's what I do. I love this hobby, but I'm a hobbyist at heart. I don't get much time to play the games as much as I would love to. You know, I typically am either painting miniatures, building miniatures, or making products that help people paint or build miniatures. So that's kind of my end of the spectrum. But the things that I love are the stories of how it came to be, where it almost broke. You know, how it came over that hurdle, hearing that, you know, that first Kickstarter funded after that first day, and the kind of light that kicked back on for you. That's the kind of stuff that I love, because that shows just kind of the unity of this community, not just the people in this room with us here, but just broad scale. There's always, in a niche, there's always even smaller groups that can pull together and make, you know, heroes out of things that you wouldn't be able to do in other industries. You know, we have a unique potential here because of the creative nature of what we do and the passion that the people at both ends of the process, you know, have for it, whether you're just buying, playing, painting, or whether you're developing. We do this, as you said, Brandon, as a passion. You know, I don't know of many people that get into gaming that are in it just because, hey, this is a great business, because I would call those people ignorant, I think. Maybe that's harsh, but, you know, I think you get into this because you love it. You don't get into it because, you know, there's millions waiting on a cherry tree someplace.
And Telemachus and Ray were asking, Ray, I think that Slow Fuse would classify as a tier 3 painter, in my opinion, not a tier 1. As far as prototypes, those are actually the 4th gens now. They're tier 4. They're very extremely powerful. Tiers, there's no real tier 0s. Anything tier 1 is considered the lowest threat level. It's basically militia, the Tundra, which is also, I believe the Tundra is actually a tier 2. Tier 1 is pretty much limited to very low end tanks. They're not really, they're very much and they're not actually in the Kickstarter yet. I haven't included infantry yet. I have tanks available, but those tanks are actually going to be tier 2 at minimum. Telemachus says the Raptor reminds me of a sleek version of the Ares mobile suits from Gundam Wing. Actually,
it's a very cool looking suit.
You're not very far off there, Telemachus. It was actually from Ares and the from Gundam 00, the Earth's flight-capable mobile suits that John got his inspiration for the Raptor. And I was very happy with the Raptor making a debut in the first Kickstarter. It's also one of the big ones that people ask for. Actually, I had a giveaway just recently before the second Kickstarter Wave 2 kicked off. And one of the winners, Gav Thorpe, you may all know him from Warhammer 40K. If you're a miniatures fan, you know Gav. And Mr. Gav won the grand prize, and he wanted 4 Raptors. So he has 4 Raptors going to him right now.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Gav is good people.
Yeah, he's incredible. He actually caught on to I don't know how he did, but he caught on to my first Kickstarter and plugged it on his blog, and I literally lit up like a Christmas tree because suddenly everybody was like, dude, Gav Thorpe noticed your stuff. And I went, what?
Senpai noticed me. So
Senpai noticed me. I was like, oh my God, no way. It was an amazing thing to see, just the outreach and everything that occurred. And I think this is one of the, like they say, you know, you have to have a passion for the game. You have to have a passion for the miniatures. You have to have a passion because and I don't think it's so much an ignorance as it is just reality that if you're going to get into this, you're either in it for the long haul or you're not in it at all. And I think you'll eventually discover that there's a lot of like minds and a lot of like personalities out there. And it's one of the beauties of the thing. It doesn't matter whether you're a fan of Warhammer 40,000 or whether you're a fan of Infinity or whether you're a fan of War Machine. Everybody loves the models, loves the stories that you get to tell on the table. It's just there's a friendliness to it. There's an actual honest to God, you're face to face with another person, you're in person with them, and you're actually interacting with them. I was humbled enough when I played in my first Infinity tournament in Texas. I was actually up against one of the top 10 players in the US of A for Infinity, and he stomped my butt. But it was my first match ever in Infinity, and I was honored to actually get so much knowledge out of that game.
Nice.
and he was one of the best, guys you could ever play across from. So it's a great passion and a great camaraderie that you have across all of this various avenues of our design. This kind of with Tundra Helix was sooner on. I do wish that I could have done that Nuke AM. The Tundra Helix is actually a slightly different mold from the original Tundra. As if you notice in the Kickstarter, it's actually braced to fire its Gatling cannon, which is actually slightly different. So I had to push it back in order to make sure that if we do fund it, it will be funded, it will go through. But like I said, it doesn't matter what is on the Kickstarter. No matter what, everything is going to be. If this one doesn't get to the Tundra Helix, you will see the Tundra Helix eventually. It's not an either or thing. They will eventually appear, and that's on me, and that's also with Impact.
That's awesome. So as you can see, we're building up this to our yellow, and we're already getting the feel of a deep golden yellow out of golden brown, right? It's a technique that I try to teach quite often. Using this under highlight, this pre-painting, under painting, if you're coming from the fine art world and doing oils and acrylics on canvas. A lot of people call this underpainting, where we are adjusting value, putting volume on the model, getting details back in. I've got shadows shelving in underneath details, all of that from the airbrush. And now you're starting to see how that picks up as I put color on the model. Right, I start to get good values in my golden brown, and even though I'm not getting this color, right, so I have to have a little bit of knowledge of what a color is going to do and how it's going to react as it thins out and goes over whites, grays, and blacks. But outside of that kind of internal math that you get used to just by trying things, you'll notice that you just kind of want to go darker than what you're looking for. And what I'm looking for is to get up to, as somebody mentioned, I think it was Still Warmer Name, that kind of caterpillar yellow. So a little bit of a dull undertone of this brown, golden brown, is going to help get me a yellow that isn't like lemon yellow, right? It's going to be able to have those shadows be a little warmer, a little trending into brown, and I'll build up yellow on top of it as we go. But you're already starting to get a lot of that feel. Right, you're starting to see those rich kind of brown shadows falling in underneath the thighs and on the butt plate and all this kind of stuff. So technical term there, butt plate. So
yeah, that's actually a butt plate. One of the things I had to bring up was and it was actually in the original design for one of the other mecha that I have envisioned, the Kizagan. It's actually going to have the butt plate split, because the original butt plate was actually just one solid slab, a la vis-a-vis Heavy Gear. And I looked at it and I went, it's not actually going to work anatomically if it does that. So I actually had to ask Marchand Atelier to change that up a little bit.
Uh-oh, see guys, he's got a brain that works kind of like mine. Where do the tag pilot's legs go? That's our joke around
Exactly. Yeah.
By the way.
Oh, is it? Well,
that's an ongoing joke around here, because I went on a rant. I have a problem with certain things when I look at it, because it's not that I can't suspend disbelief, right? I'm good at that. I'm a fantasy sci-fi guy like the rest of us. But for me, Absolutely. It has to have some semblance of being able to work. Like the Infinity magazines for the guns that are backwards make no sense. They wouldn't work. So come on, guys.
Yeah.
They drive me crazy, and sometimes it stops me on the tracks. We still paint the models. We still love the models. We still love the game. It's not a big deal. But it will bring up some talking points from time to time. Like I'll stop every now and then, and that's just become kind of our saying for, I don't understand what's going on here. I'll go, where the hell do the tag pilot's legs go? Because I don't know what's going on here. What is this for? What are they trying to pull over my eyes?
I understand. But yeah, that's one of the things when I first saw the original art for this machine. John had really already done a lot of the work, so to speak, in designing it, and I envisioned the extras added on to it. Any chance of a demo game of Whisper at Gen Con this year, Ray? If I have the money, if I have the money and if I have the time. The problem is, of course, always time and money. I would love to be able to give a couple of demos at Gen Con. Again, I have to look at my schedule, because again, this is not actually my original job. This is the passion project that I want to become my own job eventually. Whether or not that occurs, we'll see.
You're doing a hell of a job on it so far if it's just kind of the thing you do as a passion in the background. So kudos to you on that one.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Jason.
Because these miniatures are great. The design is working. Everything you're telling us is floating. I want to check out these alpha rules. I would like to throw some dice with minis on the table with it.
That dreadnoughts.
What's that?
KTP was saying, what if the tag pilots have no legs because they lost them in the line of duty? And I was like,
that's not true, because now that they created the rule set where tag pilots can get out of the tag and go push buttons because they're specialists, they all have legs. Where do the legs go? That argument doesn't work, KTP. We've had this conversation. They're not like dreadnoughts. I love Impact Miniatures. It says, you know how to have $1 million after starting a company in the miniatures world? Start with 2 million and give it some time. It's not that bleak, guys, but it's not a get-rich-quick industry. It's a passion industry. It really is. And that's what makes it so great. That's what makes it to where we can hang out and we can go to cons and meet with people that we didn't know yesterday and be having dinner and talking like we've known each other for 100 years, you know? Having Brandon on the show, having never talked to him prior to testing the Discord audio earlier this afternoon, and already I can tell that, you know, he gels with the crowd here. The mentality is just something that I don't want to say you can come to expect certain things from people in the miniature world, because everybody's their own creature. But I think that there is a little bit that we've grown to kind of understand, because we're still a world where it is an oddity, and we hear more about, you know, wow, it's really weird. Like, I went to game night and there was a guy there that was a real dick. You know, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's actually it's sadly one of the things that has kind of underpinned our camaraderie is the classic D4chan gifs that get put out there, and I call it GIF, not GIF.
GIF. Graphical interchange, so it's GIF.
GIF. But when you see the one where there's that one individual who is smashing a table in and flipping it because he lost, I'm like, okay, I could understand that with War Thunder if you get one shot, but it was, you had 2 hours to see this game unfold before you, and suddenly you lose, and you're
now you're pissed.
I'm like,
and now you're bummed.
Now you're upset, and it's like, wait a minute. And unfortunately, I think that we often encounter that in our hobby. You know, we'll always have that one guy who does that, and we all kind of look at him and go, really, dude, really? Or the one lady. Although quite frankly, as many times as I've seen it, I've never seen a female gamer on the tabletop flip out. In, say, video games, I've seen maybe a few female gamers flip out. But I've never
we have
seen
one in our local area that you know, that people say gets a little bent out of shape and real emotional about it. I've never had to play her, so I can't speak to it, but it comes with on good authority that they exist. But you know, I feel like, again, it gives the opportunity, because I've played against those people, and unlike other avenues of my life where if somebody blew up like that, I'd be like, to hell with you, dude, I'm out. You know, in the gaming world, it's easier to have a conversation with them. To be like, hey, man, you know, what can I do to make this better for you? I just want it to be happy. Do we want to replay that turn? You know, I'm sorry. Was there something you didn't understand? You know, I'm not here to kick teeth in. I like winning just as much as the next guy or girl, but, you know, it doesn't, if it comes at the expense of everybody being bummed out, then it's not worth it. So.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I think that it really kind of permeates the role playing and the tabletop game culture and mindset, is that we are almost by design, whether by choice or by design, we are all crowd pleasers. We're people pleasers. We want to be known for being friendly. And I think that plays a part in our mentality. I don't know about everybody else here on the chat. I don't know about anybody else here, you know, who's watching. Personally, when I first started, I was actually very much a loner. I was very much, you know, by myself, and I preferred it that way because I didn't want to be involved in all the drama of high school per se. So I ended up getting into role-playing games online, and that was where my niche was, and I was comfortable there.
Yep.
So I didn't see a need to really just try and, you know, push boundaries or do anything of that nature. So it really did play a part into where I grew into it. It was, you know, over time, I finally migrated back to heavy gear, and I was still in the military service at the time, and I was doing short stories at the time, and I would just write out this fan fiction and whatnot, and I'd write out these scenes and other stuff. And over time, that kind of grew into a love for the gaming universe as a whole. And yeah, we have our downsides. We have our emotions, which we have to control. And not always do we succeed in them. I can attest as to anyone that I have had those moments when I'm playing a video game and I suddenly die and I wasn't expecting to, that I just go, what the heck just happened? With a tabletop game, on the other hand, it was, I'm face to face with this person. I can see their mind working. I'm talking with them at the same time that we're doing the combat. And there's less of the hostility per se. It's more of, it's almost like, in some ways, like when I would play chess with my dad. Even though I lost all the time, I was still playing with my dad. So it was, it was calmer. It was much more, thinking ahead, and at the same time enjoying the time that I had there. So it permeates our mentality a little bit more, I think, when we actually sit down and we have these wonderfully beautiful painted miniatures and we have this great terrain, and suddenly we're actually having a game. We're not, wasting our time, screaming at a TV screen going, "Rawr, I really don't like you," blah, 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 blah. Instead,
Noob.
we're actually kind of actually sitting back going,
GTFO,
okay.
noob. Get good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. That mentality is just beyond anything else. I'm just, as soon as I read that, I'm just like, oh my Lord, I've probably been gaming longer than you've been alive, kid. I'm just like, whatever. Okay, let's go on. But with the tabletop gaming,
Generally, that's why they're
I
yelling
also
at us,
do-
though, because they do everything at like 15 decisions a second, and we are doing it at like 2. Subgenius, what's going on?
Exactly, yeah.
11 months. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, I know. It's a weird world now, right? I don't know how old you are. I'm 40. I turn 48 next Wednesday. And so for me, having been embedded in video games for the bulk of them being around on the planet, I've seen that raised to a level I can't even identify with in some cases anymore. And that's okay. I don't have to. Tabletop gaming has been largely the same. And I don't want to make it seem like that's a bad thing. But for me, I've been doing, we tried to count it out, and I always say 38 years, but I feel like it's probably more like, 35, 36, somewhere in that range of actually playing tabletop games with people I didn't know, because my life in this world started at, between 8 and 10 with my neighbors. I had a neighbor that was much older than I was that was into Dungeons and Dragons as it first came out, and so we started doing role-playing games, then came Me So Corny with another $5. Thank you, my friend. We started playing and got into things like BattleTech when BattleTech from FASA came out. Starship Battles, was it Starfleet Battles? Starfleet Battles? I think it was Starfleet Battles, which is another hex-based, game with chits and tabletop wargaming. And all of the old SSI games like Panzer Grenadier and all these kinds of things where you got a million little hex chits in a box, and the biggest problem was you'd lose all the cardboard pieces because there was a billion of them. But what I found is that as I started branching out and going to like tournaments, my first tournaments were in the world of BattleTech with miniatures, and they happened at the local comic book convention in Dallas, Texas. And we would go down there with a lance of guys. We'd have one guy piloting each mech, and we have 4 dudes, and we'd cosplay that shit before there was a word for it. We'd come in with bandanas on our head, and we were the Red Wyvern Battalion. We'd have these Red Wyvern crests on our shoulders that we had made out of torn up T-shirts or whatever. And we go in there like nerds and be nerds and play the game and have a lot of fun. But one thing I remember from then that stays true to now is I was never worried past that probably first or second time that I went in to play in those tournaments and I didn't know anybody. And I was all like, oh my God, who are these people? They're going to kill us. And we went in, we had a blast. And then ever since then, it's never been a worry to go to a con, to go to a tournament. I came here to Arizona and I didn't know a soul here in the gaming community. I literally contacted Tom Shadle, who is one of the big Infinity guys, on his blog and said, hey, Tom, I've known you for years through Games Workshop and all that. I know you're doing a Infinity thing here. Can I come get a game? And I just went and walked in the door and never got, you never get butterflies, you never get clammy hands because you're like, this is gaming. And for 38 years or whatever, it's been very secure to be able to go someplace that I don't know. Doesn't always work out. Not going to say it's all, roses and wonderful smells. But every now and then it fails. But for the most part, I can walk anywhere I want and know that I can walk in, shake hands, and share some similarity, like we talked about earlier, with these people that are throwing dice on a table. And if it's a game I don't know, I've walked into a ton of comic shops around here. X-Wing and Star Wars Armada were the last two that I did before I really knew much about them. I wanted to see what the meta was like from people I'd never talked to, and so I just walked into a store that I knew was big in the X-Wing community around here that I'd never even been in, and walked in on a night where they were doing X-Wing and pulled up a stool and sat, and people immediately talked to you, and you talk back, and by the end of it, I might not ever talk to them again, right? But I had a decent time hanging out and learning the game in an environment that was fairly comfortable. So that part, I think, is why I tend to stick with tabletop gaming, and that video gaming just becomes a pastime in the background. Why we stopped streaming video games is largely because of what I'm talking about. On the internet, people can be dicks and get away with it. When they're in front of you, it's harder.
Yeah, yeah. Sadly, that's one of the things that I admit to my guilt on that. Is I've been a bit of a dick myself in the past, and I really ought not to do that. Yeah, I keyboard warrior here sometimes. Occasionally, I engage in other keyboard warriors, and we have.
We do. Yeah, we do. We all do it. If you've played, you've done it, because it. I don't know what it is. Yeah. It'd be nice to look at the psychology of it and kind of try to understand, like, what genetic trigger happens. When somebody team kills me and then I go off on them. It's I don't want to be that person.
But team killing, on the other hand, I mean, you team kill somebody for no reason other than that. It's just no. And that is one of the things that I wanted. And thank you, Siriad, for that very kind compliment. He asked if it was an Aleph model.
Yes, it is. No, it's not. For anybody that's just joining us.
Yeah.
This is a model. It's called a Whisper, which is a heavy kind of imagine Gundam style battle suit. It is a 10mm scale model, so much more along the lines of BattleTech than Infinity. It's not a guy in a suit. It is a pilot that sits in this cockpit back here, and the pilot is probably yay tall. All right, so think in-scale railroad cars, big, huge buildings around him, but this is a mecha, not a guy in a suit. But the design lends itself to that feel, right? So he's got missile launchers, what look like missile or smoke launchers or something along the thighs here, but his weapons and scale and everything could be, like we discussed at the beginning of the stream, it could be a light tag because, up against an Infinity model, right? You can get that this guy would fit right into that world almost, both from style and perspective and almost from size, right? He's just a tad bigger.
Yep. Actually, I'm trying to find this picture because there was a great picture that I had posted lately. It was a while ago. That actually shows the scale per se of some of the model. There it is. I'm going to share the picture here for everybody who's curious. Right there.
The voice you're hearing is Brandon, who is the creator of Whisper, who has been gracious enough to hang out with us tonight. He's got a Kickstarter going on. If you type !Whisper in chat, it'll drag you to the link for the current Kickstarter. It is round 2, phase 2. I never know what to call it. It's the second Kickstarter that they've done with regard to Whisper, and they're already funded, but they are pushing towards some further goals to get some other really cool mecha done. So journey over there, see if it floats your boat, if it tickles your fancy. And feel free to support them. We have learned that this is a great project. I'm loving the miniature. The miniature I'm painting is a Sokar or a Bastet. It has a head swap that comes with it that can be one of either of the models. And these are available at Impact Miniatures, impactminiatures.com. And great unit that they run over there. And you can get this on your table very, very quickly. Great resin, great detail. As you can see, I didn't have to spend a lot of time cleaning it up. I give it a very high thumbs up from the hobby aspect, putting it together and being able to feel confident about it being ready to paint was not a hassle, which is not true of all models.
Well, I think that I again have to thank you very kindly for that. It's like I said, Impact and Marchand did an amazing job. They were Marchand especially, they were very open to my suggestions when I did have suggestions to make. That one of the reasons, and it's one of the things you brought up, was the extra arm pieces that came up. They were the ones to actually suggest, what about optional arms? And I thought, well, yeah, that would be a good idea. And I went looking around and I found some good material that I personally liked. And I, sent him a few example pictures, and he sent me back the pictures and sent me back the STL files and said, what do you think of these? And I said, you know, I made a few minor suggestions on improvement, and then they went ahead and did it, and there you go. That you've got an amazing product that I just literally every time I look at somebody painting it, or I see somebody taking pictures and posting them on the Whisper Facebook group, I just instantly just kind of grin, and I feel so awesome about it. I'm just like, yes.
I think that's
yes.
that's the one of the most awesome things for me to hear, right? Is that when you see your creation come to life, how cool is that?
It's just they're no words.
Yep.
I don't have the words. That's
Very
the
cool.
problem. I consider myself a writer, and yet I can't even come up with the words to
very
properly express my gratitude and my enjoyment of seeing what other people envision. Like I said, I've had people who have done up tactically in green. I've seen people do bright orange. I've seen people do blue. I've seen people use all different sorts of shades and colors and highlights, and every single one is just so different and yet so vivid that it makes me grin and say, I love that. I love that aspect of the game, and I love that aspect of the hobby. And I think that's why it just encourages me to keep on going forward with what I got.
Cool. Well, I know we appreciate it because I'm loving the models. Here.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much and also thank you for hosting us all this time. It's been, I'm just absolutely, with everything that's been going on, it's awesome to see somebody else enjoying the miniature.
Nice. Yeah, well, thanks for joining us. I think this has been great. And thank you so much for the follows. Rump, thank you so much.
Oh, yes. Thank you for the follows.
Welcome, 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 everybody. If you're just joining us or if you've been here the whole time, thank you for hanging out with us on your Friday. We're coming up on our final 30 minutes of the show here. So if you've got any other questions you'd like to ask to Brandon, do you have time to hang out with us till the end here?
I can hang out with you, Paul. Like I said, I got the midnight shift tonight, cool. So I'm stuck here for a little while. Feel free to ask any questions. If y'all, Syriad says one of the poses looks like the cover to Vanquish. I thank you for the very high praise, Syriad. That's I think I got did I get the pronunciation right? If I didn't get the pronunciation right, I am so sorry. But yeah.
We're entitled to butcher names on Twitch, just in case you didn't know. It happens frequently for me, so you're probably doing much better than I would have done.
It's close enough? Okay, thank you, Siri. Yeah, I truly, Drac 79, we have local tournaments. It's nothing but people that have been playing each other for years, laid back. Yeah, Drac, that's one of the things that I think is just great, is the cons and the gaming stores. It's a sad thing recently in Northwest Indiana we've lost a couple of long-term gaming stores. Like they say, you don't really get into it for the money. You get into it because it's a passion, because it's a labor of love. We lost a couple recently. We also lost one of our guys, a local owner, who Galactic Greg. He passed away recently.
Oh, that's a shame.
Sadly, and the community gave out a big shout out to him and his family. The tabletop gaming community really is just the hobbying community as well is just a very serious. Subgenius, is there a rule set? Yes. I will be, like I said, Alpha Revision 1.5 will be coming out within the month to everyone. So it will be objective based. It will be line of sight like Infinity. It will be reactive, active like Infinity. It will also include support units like infantry, tanks, and also there will be objectives, or you can just, as one of the earlier commenters said, murder your face.
Murder face.
Your choice. Yeah, murder face. So if it's fine. If you have any other questions, feel free. I know some of you might have just joined and you might not have been listening to me drone on. I know I blather on a lot, so I apologize.
No need to apologize here. It's all been good info tonight. I've been interested, so I'm okay with it.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Jason. Rays, at any point in development, did you consider a board game style? I did, because primarily I think because of Merc's Recon. That was a really, if anybody knows that board game, they know it was a pretty pretty big on Kickstarter. I actually wanted to get into the Kickstarter myself. I wasn't able to. But eventually, as time went on, I realized I had to. It's like when your mind is set on one thing or three different things, you can't focus on the one thing. So I had ideas for role-playing rules, board game rules, a space game rules set, a tabletop rule set, and I realized that the more I stretched myself out, the harder it was going to become to actually finish what I had in front of me. So I had to kind of cut out all the other extras that I wanted to put in. Even if I really wanted them, I had to focus on one rule set first and get that knocked out. Once that happens, then maybe I can see about doing a more simplistic board game rule set, maybe get in touch with somebody who's actually very good at that, and then proceed from there.
Sounds like a solid plan. You're definitely right on the if you focus on too many things, you get 10% of 10 things done, and none of them are done 100%. And a lot of times that has very little value in the grand scheme of things, right? It's like we should probably try to get one thing finished. That would be good. I'm horrible about that too, because there's so many things that you want to get done, and so many things that make sense to get done, but you can only do so much, and so you just got to pace.
Howdy, Pharaoh. Hey, he's got my name. My last name is actually, it's Brandon Keith Pharaoh, pronounced like the pharaohs of Egypt, just not spelled the same.
Hey, Pharaoh, what's happening?
So it's cool to see Pharaoh Roche.
Pharaoh Roche.
I don't know. Maybe Roche. I think maybe it's French.
He's a regular around here. Good people.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Scratch Prof actually was messaging me on Facebook. He's actually asking if I was going to Gen Con. I have been thinking about it. If we do, I will have the Alpha Revision 1.5 rules ready. I will also have quite a few different miniatures that I can bring to Gen Con with me, and we can throw down some demos, hopefully. Nice. And maybe also I might open the board up and say, if somebody wants to bring some of their paints, then y'all could, if you're coming to Gen Con, if you're willing to do a little painting, if you want to do what he's doing right now, I might open up a couple of these models for personal painting. Maybe I will give them away. I don't know. Let me think about that. Let me percolate that thought.
Come on, chat.
I'm not going to make any promises.
Pressure, chat.
I'm not going to make any promises.
Pressure, chat.
I'm not making any. No pressure. No pressure, please. Is this a closed face? No, it's open to anyone who would love to learn more about it, Ray. Okay, Ray, absolutely. If you want to come to Gen Con, you know what? Now you're pushing.
I think Ray's already committed to going to Gen Con. I don't know if that's correct, Ray. I might be putting words in your mouth, but I feel like he told me he was going.
I was like, son of a gun, what was I doing? Oh, good Coca-Cola, good Coca-Cola. And yes, Impact will also be at Gen Con, booth 124, located at the far side. They are awesome. If you want to buy some for yourself, feel free. Like I said, the prices are like 50 for 4, and Impact will be carrying the Sokar, which you see here, the Bastet, which is also the optional head, and then on top of that, there will be the Raptor. And by the time Gen Con rolls around, I don't know, maybe we might. What do you think, Impact? What's the timeline on our finishing the right next to the door? Yep, right next to the food trucks. Oh God, I love that food. Oh, that delicious food.
Gen Con food? What?
Okay, well, I should give you a caveat. Gen Con 50, when I showed up, I was actually fresh off my work shift at 7 p.m. I couldn't go to sleep that night, and I had to get out at it was 2 a.m. in the morning to make it down to the opening of the actual Gen Con.
Right.
So I spent about 3.5 hours driving there with a quick stop off at a gas station just outside of Indianapolis. And then I drove the rest of the way there. I ended up going then, and I just kept going and kept going. I ran into my friend Wunji and DreamPod 9 with the Heavy Gear guys. They had a booth there. I ran into the Infinity guys. I ran into Tom. I ran into just about everybody at Gen Con 50 that I could. And I ran for about 28 hours straight.
Non-stop, basically.
Nonstop, and I finally got to the end, and 1G had put me up in his place, and I fell asleep and did not wake up for about 11 hours.
Oh, nice.
So I slept through the second day almost.
Oh, really?
I was only able to get there. I was
How
only able to
funny.
get there after lunch.
How funny.
Yeah,
That happens. Con life.
yeah, con life. It was like I said, it was my first experience. So it was Gen Con 50. I mean, it's the 50th anniversary. You got to do. You died when you finally got home, Dallas. Yeah, so did I. But it was just, oh man, it was
Nice.
just fantastic. I mean, I still don't have words, and I don't know if I have all. I think I still have some pictures, but I didn't take as many as I ought to have. I was just so.
I'm horrible at that.
I am too. As much as I often and I should give a shout out to Infinity as well, because they gave me one of their free Gen Con models out of respect for me being a veteran. It was very humbling. Heriberto,
Nice.
not Heriberto. What's it? Oh God.
The
Bosniak.
Ariadna Spetsnaz or Special Forces guy?
Yep, Bosniak, actually, or Bosri. God, what's his handle? He goes by it all the time.
Bostria?
Yes, Bostria.
Carlos?
Carlos personally handed me the Ariadna Special Forces miniature.
Nice.
I was straight up like, okay, thank you.
Carlos is good people. Very good people.
He's incredible people. I can't say.
And he's not half bad at that whole drawing thing either.
Oh God, you have to bring up the fact that he's a ninja. I was at their demos for their game for Infinity, and I was talking about him. Now I'm a ninja. Apparently I scare a lot of people accidentally because I'll sneak up on them. This was one of those times where I got scared. I turn around and there he is standing right behind me, and I went, "How long have you been back there?" And he said, 45 seconds. I was like, "Oh my God." He's very stealthy when he wants to be.
Well, and he's kind of everywhere. That's the scary part.
He is, and it's one of those moments where you're just going, "I've been out stealthed. How is this possible?" You don't look for him; he finds you. Yep, pretty much, Dallas, pretty much.
All right, so we're getting close.
What we got here?
The golden brown has really given us a really good base as a yellow, right? Remember, we are
awesome.
painting with Model Air Golden Brown right now over all of our gray and white workup that we did, and we're getting a really good volume to this guy. A lot of our shadows already there. We don't have to worry about a whole lot of that. We will go back and boost it up as we go, but that's a great shot. We get this really nice, dirty, oily feel to the metallics just by allowing our grays and our blacks to show through. If I were to paint this at full opacity, of course, we'd lose that. We could build it back in on our own, which is always a choice. But on this model, I'm trying to show you how you can use the paints running them super, super thin. And I'm going to go ahead and kick on the palette cam real quick. We haven't done a lot of paint talk tonight, and that's fine. But I do want to, as people are watching me do this, give them a little bit of insight into what allows me to paint this way. You'll see the splotch of paint that I'm working from here. And if you watch, I will just take my brush loaded with water. It's glistening because it's got tons of water in it. And then I just pull a little bit of paint out from the droplet here until it's like this, like watercolor, right? So I'm not dealing with a whole lot of paint here at all, as you can see. Like, and normally painting, right, the paint itself covers like this. The density is good. This is just the drop of paint, right? So I don't want anything near that because I want all of my white and my gray to show through. So I'm out here playing this game. And you see that when I come over here and unload my brush on my skin, you can barely see any pigmentation at all. But as I go over here and I take it over, you know, even our black areas, it will tint that black, right? And it will brighten up the areas that have the white, because what's really happening is that the white, the gray, and the black are influencing our golden brown much more than our golden brown is influencing them, if that makes sense. But by layering like this, I can get a lot of cool transition, a lot of really, really good blending without having to try very hard.
Pay attention, son. This is for your own good.
Oh, sorry. And it also will basically act as if I've got, 4 or 5 colors on here already, as opposed to just the one golden brown. We're making pretty good progress with this guy. Sorry, I got it off screen just a little bit there. I always forget when I pull the palette cam up. I don't have.
Ray was asking if you used was the workup you used on your Morats. Did you use cam dark brown, golden brown?
Hey Ray, okay. So here's the rules. The rules are that you can contact me offline and ask me what colors you want to paint a model and what would be cool, and I can tell you. But then the rule is that you got to go figure out what that means. I'm going to give Ray some crap. He contacted me offline and he was like, so what is this? And he's like, because I can't remember what you did for that model that looked kind of like what you're talking about. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you. You got to do some work on your own, Ray. You got to do some work on your own. You got to do some work on your own. And that's really what that is saying, is that I don't have a clue and I don't remember. But I'd rather be trollish about it and tell Ray that you got to figure it out on your own, brother. I really don't remember. I can grab the model and show you, and we can try to figure it out real quick if it's here. I don't know if he's here. I think he may actually still be in the Adepticon shipment box, because I think I took him to Adepticon, did I not? Does anybody remember? Anybody that was at Adepticon remember seeing the Morat in the case? I feel like he's in the case box still. Yeah, he is. He's not here, Ray.
Dang.
So, Ray, so SOL, Bubba. I think. I got like a bajillion miniatures, and the one that's not here is that one. Oh, wait. You know what? He would have been in one of these, though. Ray, it might be your lucky day. It might be your lucky day. I'm looking. It might not be your lucky day, Ray. I might be lying to you again. Wow, holy bad luck for Ray. This box? Not really a box, but nope. I have no idea where it is.
Cam dark oak, golden brown, then a cakish highlight.
Yeah.
Well, Ray, you could give it a shot if you got that memorized as much as you do. I really honestly, and this is one of my biggest things, is like I'm not a good painter personally. And I am honest about that. But with this particular, I mean, I usually will end up taking one of those foam styropacking units and using it to dry brush and to also put some battle damage on almost every mecha that I ever create, whether it's heavy gear or cav or whatever, or what have you, tanks. I always end up putting battle damage and mud on mine because it kind of covers up my own shoddiness as a painter.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Because, it's a great way to do it.
Yeah, and also because it's just, to me, it's like in my military experience, there is no such thing as a clean tank. You drive it for less than a mile, it's going to be covered in dust.
Yep. There is lots of truth to that, for sure. And, weathering gives you the ability to feel a little bit more confident as you're going through a model that may have a lot of big flat armor spots on it and things like that you can get away with being a little bit looser with your paint. It doesn't have to be perfect because you can. Battle damage solves a lot of problems, not going to lie.
Yeah, it does.
But Ray, again, I didn't have an answer for you in all truthfulness because I don't have the model sitting in front of me, but I think you're on the right. I think I used oak brown on that one, coming up off of the cam black brown into oak brown. And then I think it was probably some form of khaki or desert yellow, maybe before khaki. But without it sitting in front of me, I don't know. I'm horrible with colors after the fact. I do everything kind of right off the cuff as we're painting like this, and then I forget.
I like Dallas's comment. You don't win battles with clean machines. No, you don't. You never do. No such thing as a clean machine, except when you're, what is that? It's not like you own 100,000 colors or anything. Ray, honestly, with some of these hobbyists like Slow Fuse and Master Guns, I look at my own pitiful collection of paints and just shake my head. I personally own Reaper paints myself. They're they hold up well to time because it may take months between me to actually have proper conditions for painting. But Reaper really holds up well. I don't know what you use personally, Jason.
We're primarily a Vallejo and Army painter house, but we use just about anything. I always teach people that it's all about the hue. Don't buy the brand, buy the colors that you like, because once you get into the world of miniature paints, by and large, they are all of a very similar quality. There may be certain paints that people like more because of the consistency out of the bottle, so they don't have to fool them as much. Right now, Scale 75 is a big buzzword because they have a little bit thicker pigmentation, so people are learning what a more controlled paint is like, using it, straight away. We're actually developing our own paints right now, so hopefully sometime before the end of the year, we will have good news on the paints that we have been concocting in the background. I'm excited for all of that.
See now, and this is one of the things that I'm sad to say. It's one of the things I wish DreamPod 9 had been able to keep was their deal with Reaper, because they had their own set of paints. And they were so awesome, but most especially their metallics. And unfortunately, I haven't heard anything from Robert about their being able to maintain those metallics from Reaper, because those, like some of the Skunk Metal or Skunkworks gunmetal, was just fantastic work. And I just kind of killed for. KTP's asking, what are you doing for the blade?
I don't know what color yet, but it's going to be a really cool OSL back against the yellow and the thigh here. So I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, a green would be really good. Like a teal, bluish green would be really cool. A magenta or purple might work, but the whole model is going to be really warm already with all this gold and yellow on it. And we'll probably do a lot of red detailing for, like, warning symbols and things like that on his armor, maybe some markings. So I don't know that red makes sense, anything in the world of reds. But I'm liking the idea of like a bluish green.
Ooh.
With a really cool.
See now, interestingly enough, that particular blade is one of those things where I had to fudge a little bit, and it's one of the sticking points for me in the model. If you look at the kneeling pose, it doesn't have the blade. So in my mindset, I have to believe it's actually a retractable blade, but it's actually a little bit closer to beyond what I had envisioned for the machine, if you will. I wasn't really envisioning nanotechnology actually pushing to the form-fitting blades.
Oh yeah.
I was kind of questioning that particular design facet. But for now, I think I can stick with it because it's not too over the top. For now, there are certain design decisions that I made for the models with Marchand and Impact that I feel just make everybody look and say, that's awesome, I want that. Also, I have thought about some of the suggestions for the Raptor, because when the original Kickstarter kicked off, everybody was like, I love this Raptor. Can we please have some alternate arms? And I finally caved and said, okay, yes. So within the near future, you can start to expect that there's going to be some alternate arms with some alternate weapons for that particular model. Nice. If anybody else wants to have a look at that.
Nice.
But the Wolverine claws were original to the design, and I liked them for that fact, and also for the fact that it made it look like it would be a real beast of a machine in close quarters combat.
Yeah, I really dug them. I almost put those on this guy, but I didn't know, since we decided we were going to be streaming, and this was before we talked about having you on, but I was like, I probably ought to stay at least a little close to what the expectation was. I'm a fan of bits. That. I like bits and switching things up and making new stuff and all, but I was like, okay, well, whatever. I was like, that looks really cool. That would be really cool on this guy. I could change that really easy. And then I was like, I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave it so that when people see it, they see what they can get and don't go in with like some sort of other expectation of, but Fuses was different.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that a lot.
Hey, thank you for that follow. Chuck Soul, what's going on? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Nice.
Again, we are painting
Welcome.
a Whisper Mech from the game Whisper. And we are talking live right now with Brandon, who is the developer of Whisper. He's been gracious enough to hang out with us tonight. We're down to our last couple minutes here. I'm going to try to get just a little bit more yellow on here where I want it. I think we're almost to the point where I'm happy with what we've done here. Got a good start. And I've been using a very, very wet, thin layering technique on this guy, as I've been talking about, to really allow all of our airbrush work to show up through my brush paint here to give us this base for what will be a little bit brighter yellow. I'm really happy with where it's at now. I don't think I'm going to do a whole lot more yellow, only maybe to give it a little bit more of a metallic
Hey,
feel.
somebody likes us.
Headless Chicken, great name. Thank you so much for that follow. So yeah, we started the stream today just going through over pure black primer, starting with a black-gray coat as a base, and then working up through grays through, started with black-gray, moved up to neutral gray, then to light gray, then to spaceship exterior, to get our gradients laid in, and then finally white, right? So that's how we laid in and got all of our volumes in to start giving it a little bit of shine, a little bit of like brightness on the corners, a little bit of dimension to the volumes that are more cylindrical, like the backpack there. And then after all of that got set up, then we just started in with the one color that is the only real other hue on the model so far, which is this golden brown from Model Air from Vallejo. And just painting with it so thin that it is barely any pigment in the paint at all, so that all of that black, gray, and white buildup all still shines through. So I'm still getting, even in my gold, I'm getting my shadows already. My highlights are peeking through. You can see like on this angle here is fantastic because it kind of shows us all of the dimension to the calf plates here.
Hey,
brighter at the
somebody
top,
likes
darker
us.
as we go down. Free Dave, thank you so much for the follow. What's happening?
Fantastic.
Right, so a really good build-up so far. We're going to continue on with this on Tuesday, where I will start doing some of the brighter yellows on it, and then probably start just, you know, mocking in some of the whites. We're going to have white shoulder plates here, maybe with a cut-in of red along that panel line there. I'll figure out what other accent colors we'll use. And then most of the metallics will be a silver metallic, not chrome. A little bit darker than that. Will give us a chance to put in a little bit of blue in there as we do our non-metallics, because we will be painting it without any metallic paints to get all of our metals shined up. The gun, of course, I didn't do any of our highlighting on, not on purpose. That's a little overspray there, because we'll do the gun a lot darker. It'll be the darkest thing on the model most likely, and then then we'll just start cutting in details and stuff. So really great model though. I'm really, as we've been talking in the back of my head, I'm sitting here going, the detailing on this is just spectacular. It has the crispness of a Metal Infinity model. It's got the cool design stuff that makes sense. I really, you know, everything just kind of, I give it a thumbs up. I really dig it.
Thank you. Thank
like
you.
it.
And
It's
thanks
neat.
to
Very
all the
nice.
backers. If anyone else wants to have a look at Impact's in mine, this right here, I'll give the shout out here. If you want to check out the Wave 2, Tundra will be next, as well as the Osiris and Obelisk, our Glitter Boy. And again, my name's Brandon. Thank you again, Jason, for hosting me and my SoCar. It is Impact, Marshan, everyone. Jason, thank you. Thank you again. Again, I'm humbled and thrilled. It just looks so spectacular.
Man, I
I'm
love
glad to be here.
that you are willing to come and hang out with our little group here on the internet. I hope that everybody out there in our community is happy that we get to do these things, getting to talk to really cool people in the industry who are on the side of being able to see their kind of creative dreams come to life. I really respect what you got going on. Nothing but big thanks to you for hanging out and telling us a little bit of your story, giving us some insight into the world of Brandon and Whisper and what it takes to, you know, see a project like this through. Impact Miniatures, they're in chat. Make sure that you guys check out impactminiatures.com. That's where you can buy this specific model right now, along with some of the others. The Raptor model I showed off earlier. We've got all sorts of great stuff. Great resin, great to work with from a hobbyist aspect. I've been purely happy with these, and they are available now. The Kickstarter is just bringing even more and better designs into the fold, so check that out too by typing !Whisper, like Brandon had mentioned in chat. Click that link, go over, check it out. It tells the story, gives you some background, see if it's something that interests you. If so, throw some dollars at it. They are planning to deliver by first quarter of next year, so it's not even a long wait time. And like I said, you can get your hands on some of these miniatures right now, and paint along, do all sorts of cool stuff with them. And like I said,
Hey,
you could use these as proxies in other games. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Scratch Proof, thank you so much for hanging with us tonight. I've had a blast. Thank you so much, Brandon. Thanks, Impact, for hanging out in chat. Hopefully we got to get a lot of your questions answered. It's coming down to our end time. I want to throw out there one last time, our Maydays giveaway promotion is going on right now, ! Maydays that you see there at the bottom of the screen. Go over, this one costs you absolutely nothing, literally. Go over to slowfusegaming.com on that link. That's our website. It's also our hobby store where you can purchase all of the things you see me use, from the brushes that we make, right, to the soaps that we use to clean, to Vallejo paints and the whole nine. All the stuff that you see us use and work with on this stream is available over there. But the giveaway page will just ask you to follow us on our social media. It's that simple. And every time you follow one of our social media avenues, you will get 2 entries into the giveaway that happens next Wednesday at the end of the stream, May 30th. At the end of the stream, which is 5 p.m. Pacific, we will be giving giveaways. We've got 12 people that'll be receiving the giveaways, and that number keeps increasing as we receive more donations to the channel, as more people follow all of our different social media avenues. So it started at 6, and we're already up to 12. So we've doubled the amount of winners already in the last week, and we're down to the last 5 days before the contest ends. So get over there. Feel free to tweet it out. Pass it along to people in your Facebook groups. It's open to everybody. It's free. All they got to do is follow us and get a chance to enter. And like I said, as we hit different milestones, we'll pick more winners from that hat. So thank you guys and gals so much for all the support. Continuing, just amazing community. Wouldn't be able to think of it any other way now that I get to sit and paint with my best friends on the internet all the time. I get lonely when I paint alone now. So guys and girls, thank you so much. Hope we got all the questions answered. I look forward to being able to talk to Brandon more and paint more on these miniatures. So thank you so much for hanging with us, Brandon. We will see you guys after a while. Have a great time. I'm going to hang out tight for a minute. I'll find somebody to host off to. But have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you back here on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific. Adios, gang. Thanks so much.
Wiedersehen.